You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Together, all of them 30-plus in the regular season, including Robertson. He scores! Right through Stuart Skinner.
For Granlund, who's been, look out.
It's McDavid. Hintz trying to catch him. McDavid scores! The breakaway goal for Connor McDavid. And
we've got a Stanley Cup final rematch, everybody. And the Knicks won. Good morning and welcome to the Pete Sheppard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. How are you on this freaky, and let's use the standard industry term, Freeform Friday? I can't tell you how much I hate that term. Let's do Freeform Friday. No, we're just going to do Freaky Friday, all right? Good morning, everybody. Woohoo, it's Friday. How's everybody doing today, wherever you are around this great country of ours in the U.S. of A and around the rest of the world, where we're heard in at least 53 countries? I'm not making that up, according to legendary producer, host extraordinaire, Angel Martinez. Kazakhstan, hello. France, hello. Italy, hello. Russia, hello. Mexico, hola. Buongiorno, bonjour to everybody out there. How's everybody? Thanks for checking out the show on the Coastal Sports Network and across the video platform, which is awesome, baby. Following me at pshep326 on Twitter X. You can follow us also on YouTube, Kick, Rumble, CSN Florida, Facebook pages, and the awesome app, versus right there, SR1029 The Game, SR1029thegame.com. And also, you can check out the show. Call or text 727-858-6650. Great show lined up for you today. Coming up at 8:05, Bill Burt from the Eagle Tribune will talk some NCAA baseball, and he covers the Patriots as well. Mike Vrabel in the news, Stephon Diggs, all that nonsense going on the boat. That Joshua says, yay, Pete Sheppard, yay, congratulations to me. Hercules. Tell what kind of mood I'm in today. We're going to have some fun today. The Knicks won last night, 111-94 with the Pacers, who didn't play particularly well. I'm not surprised. The Pacers will close out the Knicks in 6, and the Toronto Maple Leafs of the NBA will be off to their golf time tomorrow night. Whenever that's done. Good job last night by the Edmonton Oilers. A rematch with the Florida Panthers. Some controversy, though. If you're a hockey fan, Pete DeBoer, those are the kind of moves that get you fired. He changed goalies to start the third period to spark the team. Not a great idea. I mean, it was a 6-3 final, but it was an empty netter at the end that sealed the deal. It just was a really, really bad take. We'll get all the reactions. We'll get some highlights and reactions from the Knicks. I just don't give a shit about the Knicks winning anything. They're not going to win. The series is boring. I know the NBA. I know Adam Silver. Everybody on the planet is hoping that they can beat Indiana so they can have the number one market, because people are lazy and they don't consider Indiana and OKC a great matchup. There's some great players on both of those teams. I'm looking forward to the matchup personally. I know Glenn Ordway yesterday, he thinks that it's either going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. I'm not saying that can't happen, but I'm still looking forward to it because I have so much respect for Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers, and we'll see. We'll see. If and when that comes, it should come tomorrow night. Pacers will close out the Knicks. That was such a boring game again last night. Hockey was so much better. Thank God I didn't have to watch the Red Sox. Nothing to complain about. Angels Phillies let me down in the second game. I wanted them to win 9-3 and use up some of the Braves bullpen. But tonight the Red Sox are on Apple TV, and so I don't get that. So I won't be frustrated watching them probably lose because of mismanagement. But we digress. We say good morning to Angel Martinez. Good morning, Angel. So we're going to get into that. The NCAA baseball tournament starts today. All 5 New England teams in it. Amazing. And, of course, the University of Miami, playing Alabama today at noontime as well. I believe it's on ESPN2. And all 5 New England teams, Holy Cross, Rhode Island, Northeastern, which has won 27 straight games, is 36-1, ranked 19th in the country, and Central Connecticut State and Fairfield. So those are your 5 teams all be in action today. I cannot wait. Angel Martinez, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Senor Pete. I am good. It is Friday. What do you say? Industry Standard Friday, the whatever you want to call it.
Freeform Friday. Freeform Friday, which, you know what that means? That everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. I hate that phrase.
It's so dumb.
Speaking of Freeform Friday, I don't know if you caught, like I said, in the morning before I do this show, while I'm either walking the dog or Peanut Gallery is making breakfast, whatever it is, prepping more for the show. I do have ESPN on in the background, okay? And I usually put on the morning show from 6 to about 6:45. And it was hysterical this morning because, Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smalls, Michelle Smalls. And Chris Canty, former NFL Super Bowl champion, an NFL player, throws a line out there, Angel, and says, this is not an accomplishment to do this show, or basically to work here. Kind of a throwaway line. Coming from an ex-NFL player who probably is the only reason why he's there is because he's an ex-NFL player, and a lot of other people that are on ESPN. Some analysts are a lot better than others in all the sports. Obviously, guys like Adam Schefter and Pete Thamel, who didn't play in the National Football League or the NBA or Major League Baseball, they do an excellent job. They provide, I think, more substance than some of the ex-athletes do. Not that I don't appreciate some of the ex-athletes, what they bring to the table, but it's very difficult when you hear people like Kendrick Perkins, who I think is a buffoon, and then you hear other people like Teddy Bruschi and some other athletes that just don't go out of their way. I'm not just saying, Ryan Clark, for as much as I can't stand how he race baits people all the time, I think he makes a lot of interesting points at times. And some other people that are Bart Scott is a joke. Bart Scott, I take nothing he says seriously, nothing. But there's some analysts on ESPN that I truly respect, but there's a lot of them that I think are an absolute joke. They're not telling you anything that you don't already know. And their inside perspective into what a coach is thinking, this, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing we're all thinking, and they don't know any more than we do, with very few exceptions. That's why I trust the Adam Schefters of the world, and Pete Thamel. So Evan Cohen got so pissed at Chris Canty. They were coming out of a break, and he was pissed, Angel. And he's like, we're going to address this. He's like, what do you mean it's not an accomplishment? And Evan Cohen goes into how, and it's the same old, you've heard, we've all gone through it as broadcasters. Now, Evan's a lot younger than me, and trust me, Evan didn't make any $3.50 an hour. And he's like, I did traffic reports in Wisconsin in a little truck, and it had a hole in the roof. And I'm going, yeah, BOOHOO. You're not saying anything else that all of us in the business have not gone through. And I understand where both sides are coming from. Canty's like, this is the toy department of the world, of the broadcast, which it is. And I've said to you a million times, Angel, I take nothing for granted. What I have accomplished and the people that I have been privileged enough to work with, present company included, has exceeded all my dreams. When I started in this business barely at 20, almost 21 years old, I never, ever dreamed that I would be where I am and accomplished what I've accomplished and been a part of so many wonderful broadcast teams out there. Some better than others, obviously. There's ups and downs in this business, as many people. It's very cutthroat. You know what? I wouldn't trade anything. Well, a couple of things, but other than that, I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade much. I'm 99% happy. But Evan Cohen got so offended by what Canty said, and he went on like this 5-minute diatribe about, of course, it's an accomplishment to work here. Damn it, I've worked hard, but you're not saying, Evan, anything else. And look, you're not an ex-athlete, so you had to work harder. I agree. Michelle Small, she was out in St. Louis, out there at ESPN 101 for many years. I think she does a good job. I think she gets held back because they don't let these people talk about hockey. I think she wants to talk about hockey. Canty can't talk about hockey because he doesn't watch it. and they do very simple, straightforward peanut butter and jelly sports. It's boring as hell, boring as hell for the most part. Now, that being said, I still think it's their best morning show they've had since Mike and Mike. It just could be so much better. But they won't allow it because it's fucking peanut butter and jelly stuff. Here you go. Let's talk about the Knicks. They can only focus on the headlines. And I'm not saying break every game, every sport down with X's and O's, because that's just as boring. No one is saying that. I'm saying you got to be a little bit more diverse. You cannot. You have to talk about teams like the Florida Panthers. You have to fit that in somewhere along the way. You have to talk about DeBoer pulling the goalie last night, Ottinger for Casey DeSmith, which made no sense to me at all. There's other aspect. Major League Baseball seems to be non-existent also. Besides hockey, they don't talk anything, hardly any Major League Baseball on that show. They try to force feed you NFL stuff. For some reason, Caleb Williams in the book quote, Caleb Williams has become a hot topic for whatever reason, not for this show, but for them. It's all like little, whatever their ESPN headlines say is what they talk about. And it's they have handed, and I'm telling you, this is what happens. The producers hand them a bunch of pages, and maybe they get to some of the subjects. And believe me, the subject list, as I've said, is awful on the whole. Awful on the whole. But they are praying over there like hell that the Knicks somehow make it to the NBA Finals because they don't consider Indiana and OKC, even though they're great players on both teams, to be intriguing enough, which God forbid them. They might be forced to talk about hockey, which I doubt. They wouldn't do anyway, not on that show, not on any of the shows. For the most part, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Once in a while, Stephen A. will have a PK Subban on, or somebody else that's in the NHL studio on ESPN, but not very much. Not very much. And I got a sneeze coming on. Hang on.
Sure. And God bless you.
Thank you. Wow, that's a big one. See, I'm not one of these. I don't do that because if I did, I feel like my head's going to explode.
Yeah.
So I just let it out. I let it out. It's like a sneeze orgasm. Huge. And that's how I rule. But anyway, it was. I'm laughing, and I'm like, I understand what everyone was saying. Yes, Canty's a professional football player, former professional football player, Super Bowl winner. So, yeah, he's looking at it like, yes, it's the toy department. It's the toy department because you're only there, not because of your broadcast skills. You are only there because you were a former NFL player, period. Now, there are some former players that are way better than others in the broadcast business. There's no question about that. But not many of them. Not many of them. There's not many of them out there that are the Adam Schefters of the world or the Pete Thamels of the world. And I'm telling you, if you watch ESPN, you really take what Kendrick Perkins and Bart Scott say for real? People like that? I sure as hell, I laugh. I don't even yell at the TV. I just laugh at the ignorance and the prejudice that goes on. Not racial prejudice against teams and players and coaches. And ESPN in Bristol is full of that nonsense, full of it. There are so many people that hate this team or this region or that region, and they think moving the needle, they think just by saying Lakers, that's going to move the needle. Oh, yeah, buttfuck Idaho is going to tune in because I said Lakers. Really? Really? Widget, Wisconsin, hello, you're going to tune in. I said Lakers. Let's have the phone lines light up. No. Doesn't work that way. They think it does, and it doesn't. So everyone goes off on Candy. This is an accomplishment. I've done this. I broadcast did traffic reports in Wisconsin with a hole in the roof. Yeah? I broadcast a football game from a tree. I wielded phone lines through fields. You've heard the story Vic and I have gone through. I have wielded literally hundreds of yards of phone lines, stringing them together, hitched up to an AD's phone, a regular phone, not an iPhone or an Apple, a regular phone, unscrewing the thing like I'm on Mission Impossible, and clip the alligator clips, and praying to God that nobody walks from the AD's office to 300 yards while we have taped wire down through grass and stone and brick and trees, so nobody kicks it accidentally. So stop it with the this like Evan Cohen, you're the only one that's worked hard to get to where you are. And I appreciate his accomplishments. That's great. He's probably gotten there at a younger age. He had a lot more opportunities. ESPN, even back when I thought about going there on weekends. I had one offer to go down there to go do updates. A lot of my friends did updates. Kevin Winter, Greg Dickerson back then, and a lot of other people. But they're all the only stories that come out of there are they just treated you like shit on the whole. And there wasn't a lot of opportunity for up and coming young broadcasters, always the Chris Bermans of the world and that kind of stuff. And I really didn't give a shit because I had I wouldn't trade anything. And being on WEI for all those years in Boston, I wouldn't trade those years for anything, because they restrict you at ESPN. They have. They don't like anybody that disagrees with them politically in any way, shape, or form. They'll fire you or suspend you or make it very difficult for you to carry on if you don't conform to their way of thinking, which is going to be really interesting next year, as Glenn and I talked about yesterday, when Charles Barkley goes there, because he doesn't give a shit. He's already said they can fire me. They just have to pay me for 7 years. He is going to go there and wreak havoc in that studio. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the battles. I hope that he and Perkins are on at the same time over, for many times, because that will be really good stuff. And you've been through hell in your, not hell, but I mean, you've been through, we've all been through the trials and tribulations in this business.
Yep.
And I tell the funny stories. That's why, I mean, if Glenn and I combined on a book or Meter and I combined on a book, or Jerry Thorne was coming up today combined on a book, you guys would be shocked and chagrined. Maybe not so much shocked because you hear the stories now of how cut dry this is, but the pettiness and stuff that goes on in this business is really hysterical. Backstabbing people. I mean, it's just everybody's gone through it. There isn't anybody in this business that hasn't been gone through it or fired. Correctly or not, for whatever it is. And we've all, on the whole, most of us who got to this level, worked pretty damn hard. There are those college kids that are there now that think they're going to come out of college and make a 6-figure salary going right to ESPN. It doesn't work that way. What they do have, what the younger generation broadcasters do have, is they have the digital platform now. And anybody can become their own talk show host. You can pay for a service like we do here and do this, or you can go on YouTube and form your own YouTube channel, or TikTok, which I'm still not on, and maybe I should reconsider that.
Just wait, go on that one.
Yeah, wait on that one. But there's a lot more opportunities per se for the young broadcaster, because you can just go on Facebook Live and do whatever you want. Now, you may not be able to get the guests that we do and all that stuff, but you still can go on and try to make a name for yourself. There's a lot of other people out there that are doing it. Most of them suck. And most of them are not going to, they don't, I'm 58 years old. I've been doing this almost 39 years. I think my knowledge and experience speaks for itself. I'm not right about everything. I'm not wrong about everything. But I can tell you this, I'll speak from my head and my heart all the time. I'm not going to make shit up. I'm not going to do fake contrarianism. I'm not going to be like Felger up in Boston yesterday, who said one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life when he said he's more concerned about players taking time off for family obligations than he is for drug use. That is one of the fucking dumbest things that any sports talk show host could ever say. Stupid, absolutely idiotic. And I hope he got called out for it, because that's just flat out dumb. That is flat out dumb. Anyway, so Jerry says, good morning, guys. Just checked Google Maps. Couldn't find buttfuck Idaho. It's in the northwest corner, way up.
That is the line of the day so far.
It's true, though. But you know what I'm saying? And that's the problem with these national sports talk shows. And that's why many of them, now down here in ESPN Florida, before they stupidly took the big signal away from us, a 50,000 watt signal at 99.3, and gave us no warning at all that they were doing it. They did it on a holiday weekend, which is also without any notice at all. But that's what that company's done with other radio stations in that market for years. And I never understood it. It's one thing. I could go on and on about that forever. And they're not the only company that X stupidly. All these other ones, they're all going bankrupt. Like I said, they're all going bankrupt. Doesn't really matter. Some sooner than others, but it's absolutely happening. But that's the kind of stuff that you have to deal with. And you get a phone call on a weekend from a general manager saying, we just ripped the signal from you. But yeah, we'll be on this signal and that signal as well, which would, not even close. It's not fair to the advertisers. It's not fair to the hosts. And it's not fair to the people coming on the air on a Saturday that had absolutely no idea what had happened. There was no previous notice. And then you go on the air and you make a weekend host who's doing 2 hours a day on a fishing show go on and try to explain to angry people who can't find this or now attuning to a signal that has all Spanish-speaking people on it, a Spanish station, which the number one station in the market already was a Spanish station. Nobody could figure out why they did it, and we never got any explanation. It's not the first time at that company, and it won't be the last time, because I've had other decisions like that being made by people who don't get it or are forced to do it because whether you want to say it's woke culture or whatever it is. I won't even say it's this culture or that culture. It's just bad decision making. It's bad management. It's bad decision making. And it goes on all over the country and all these terrestrial radio stations. But getting back to what I said, younger people out there broadcast, all I say, and I've spoken to a lot of them, there's a lot of people, you're going to get a lot of rejection. If you can't handle rejection, do not get into this business. Yep. Don't get into it because you'll get squashed like a fucking bug. That's just the way it is. It is do or die, very cutthroat. You got to be aggressive. And but classy. You're aggressive, but classy. So you have a lot of opportunity. Somebody eventually will say yes, or if you are talented enough and you can form your own network, your own show, you get some sponsors, and then you're on your way. But trust me when I tell you, most of you out there, you younger broadcasters out there, you can do better than ESPN. On the whole, you can do better. ESPN is not the be-all, end-all of broadcasting for sports broadcasting. It just isn't anymore. I know they think they are, and yes, they do better than Fox, and they do better than some of the other networks nationally, and I get that. They pay guys like Stephen A. Smith an exorbitant amount of money, $12 million a year, to preach at you all the time. I'm Stephen A. Smith. Guess what I told you? I told you. Combination of Dr. Martin Luther King and Jackie Childs, from Seinfeld. I don't like being preached at. I hate the staccato. I can't. It click. It really is. And every single thing is a topic that way. That's why I'm gonna talk staccato like you and tell you. And I'm going to tell you and you and all these hosts say this. I'll tell you. I hear these weekend promos, and it just goes through me. It forms dingleberries when I hear. This is Chris Canty coming up on Monday. I'll tell you, they say that, I'll tell you my thoughts, and I'll tell you why, I'm just making this up, why I think the Knicks will win this. You're not telling me shit. I don't even know if you're watching the games. I really don't. You listen to Stephen A. Smith. You think Stephen A. Smith watches NFL games? Do you hear the stuff that comes out of his mouth? The only thing college football-wise that comes out of his mouth is Alabama. And he's just one. That's the guy, the face of ESPN, making $12 million a year. That's a fucking joke. That is a joke that he sits there and makes $12 million a year. Not to mention a lot of his NBA picks when he's not rooting for the Knicks, and his analysis is just awful. And then they got cameras on him walking into the arena. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I'll take Dan Patrick and not preaching at me all day, because I think he has fun with the Danettes. And Glenn and I have filled in on that show a couple of times over the years. It's doing a national. That was my first experience doing a national show. That was a while ago. It's probably 10 years ago plus. And but we did it. I mean, I knew what was going on. I forget what it was. A big topic of the day was something happened with Cincinnati Reds. It wasn't Pete Rose or betting. I can't remember. But this is, yes, I do a lot of New England sports here. We do a lot of Florida sports. But I mean, we bring on this show every day. And Angel and I don't have these big hour discussions and everything else. I just basically text them the guests coming up. And we go by, you want 3 or 4 stories that happened the night before. And most of the time, I do not agree with ESPN's 3 to 4 stories. As I said, you're going to get what I believe are the top stories. And when I play the cuts that I think are the most exciting to start the show, like Sean McDonough last night on ESPN calling Dallas and Edmonton, that is way more exciting than what happened in the Knicks OKC game last night.
Yep.
It's the Knicks Indiana Pacers game last night, or the night before was even worse, OKC in Minnesota. So that's what I'm all about. And I just find, again, getting back to my original point, that Evan Cohen going off with this boo-hoo attitude about how a young and up-and-coming broadcaster had it so bad because his little traffic truck in Wisconsin had a hole in the roof. That's fucking nothing compared to, if that's the worst thing that happened to you, buddy, then you don't understand, then you have no idea the people before you, what we went through. And we had no digital platforms back then, and there was nothing. It was terrestrial radio. You started at the bottom, you went up to small market, to medium market, to finally, and that's how I did it. I worked at the smallest station in the smallest state, WKFD, which no longer exists, 1370 across your AM dial. 1,000 watts, 500 watt station, right? That went down to 150 watts when the sun went down.
Good Lord.
That is taking 2 Dixie cups and a string, and I could get a better signal. But I didn't care. I had my foot in the door and, worked my way up. I stayed there about 6 months, and then I moved on to a more of a medium market type station in Rhode Island. And then I moved to, and then I worked at a couple stations in Rhode Island. I worked at a station in Connecticut, WSUB, for a little while. Did a sports show there, and then basically moved to Massachusetts to a station. At one time, I've said this before, Angel. Let me see if Evan Cohen can relate to this, or some of the other people at ESPN. I worked at a station. I've said this to you, Angel. We gave away in morning drive. We gave away poop. We gave away manure up in northern Worcester County, and people called in for it. People called in for it because there was so much farmland up there. Weird place to work, let me tell you. Winchendon, Massachusetts, the hind end of the radio business back in the day. But I worked with a couple people that were cool, another few people that were just fucking shit-kicking hillbillies that had no idea what they were doing. And it was just, I was at this level even back then, and they were down here. And you got to be kind of nice and professional about it, And after that is when I worked out in Fitchburg and Leominster, and then Winchendon, Massachusetts, which just was, it was a job. It was a job. And it was about 40 minutes from my house. And you want to talk about like where it snows every day. That was part of Massachusetts anyway, regardless, I just got in my car one day with my resume. I went to Boston and basically said, I'm not leaving until you hire me. And they did. It was a Wednesday. My first shift was on Saturday. But the trials and tribulations Evan Cohen went through, trust me, we've all been through worse than you. But I understand why he got mad at Canty for saying what he said, because he's like, Canty basically said, anybody can do this. That was the way I took it, and that's not true. Everybody cannot do this. There's not a lot of people that can go every single day. Now, this show, we go between, I'd say, 2 and 3 hours every day when we're here. Some days are going to be longer than others. Like yesterday, we went to like 10:15. Other days are going to be shorter. Today, I can promise you, we ain't going until 10 because there's not a lot going on. Though it depends on the guest. Now, Bill Burt's going to be great today. Jerry's going to be great. And we always have extended conversations with both of them. And I love it. And I like to talk to people. All my guests I like to have on like I'm speaking to you guys, or we are at a bar together watching something. That's the way sports talk radio should be. This force-fed stuff that goes on nationally at ESPN and some other networks as well. It's just phony baloney, and I'm telling you, the producers say, you take this side, you take that side. And some of the hosts don't want to admit it, but that's the way it goes because they think it moves the needle. And I guess if you're in, I'll be kind, Widget, Montana, and you're listening to ESPN radio on 1600, which is so many of the stations that ESPN affiliates for now have, and it's almost 400. If it's not 400, it might be a little bit more. They didn't have the signal that they had down here in Southwest Florida, and initially with the 99.3 until they got rid of it for some unknown reason. And well, I think I know the reason, but regardless, but most of the ESPN affiliates are not on these big 50,000 watt stations. They're just not. They're on small, dinky little stations in South Dakota and Montana. Now there's like 710 ESPN LA. There's some bigger ones, and they have the affiliates in Cleveland and Chicago. But most of them are on the AM dial, which if you're just doing AM radio in this day and age, you might as well get out of the business. You're wasting your time. If you don't have an FM or digital platform, you're really wasting your time. If your show on terrestrial radio is not being shown on a digital platform like this, or at least on Facebook, or at least on Twitter, it's stupid. And what happens is the reason why it isn't, it's laziness in program directors, it's laziness in whatever it may be. They don't want to go, some of the hosts may not want to be on. Even a Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. If you are in terrestrial radio and you don't have a digital platform right now, you're fucked. You're fucked anyway because you're all going out of business. But the fact of the matter is a lot of hosts don't want to do this. I love our video platform and I love doing this because we can do and say whatever we like. Now, even on terrestrial radio, even if you had a video platform, you need people to edit stuff out. We don't have to do that here. But nevertheless, if you still do not have a digital platform at terrestrial radio, you're screwing yourself. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially with all these companies ready to go out of business. And I mean all of them. Odyssey, Beasley, Cumulus, all of them. They're all screwed. Doesn't matter. And if you're not doing, whatever you're doing, a local show, and if you don't have a digital platform, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing out. And you're missing out on potential sponsors and all that stuff. That is where this business is. Terrestrial radio is going to be so obsolete in a few years that it's just the way it is. You're going to have sports radio apps like we have, that Angel put together, like SR 1029 The Game. That's going to be everybody's sports app. And soon all these apps are going to be available in the cars as well. They'll just be there. You'll be able to just punch in a number and be able to come up if you can't watch the video platform. That's why we say, if you can't watch the video platform, download the app because that's the best way the audio is going to come in. So you can listen to the video. You can listen to on my Facebook page or on YouTube. You could punch that up through your car or through your device if you can't watch the show. It'll come through and everything. It's not going to be the same. It might buffer a little bit more than you think. That's why the SR 1029 The Game, the app, that's why we have it, is if you're in your car, you put that on, just like you would any other radio station. And if you were streaming it, that's what you do. So, all right, I'm off my soapbox. And
you brought up a good point, though, because in one of the stations, before we move on, in Philly, it was a great rock and roll station. And they went from, it used to be like modern rock, and then they started playing classic rock. It was like, wow, this is like, for those who loved, obviously I love my sports, but I also love my classic rock as well. And then there was like no mention of anything, like any formats being switched or anything else. So I'll use, like, for example, the two listeners right now that sent a message in this morning, like Joshua and Jerry. So you had it was right around like 3:58 in the morning. Mm-hmm. DJ comes on and says, coming up this hour, or the next hour here at 4:00, it's going to be AC/DC. We're also going to talk to Billy Joel. And by the way, we're going to have a guest call from Joshua Silva and Jerry from Rhode Island. All that coming up here at the 4 a.m. hour. And you're like, wow, this is going to be great. 2 minutes later, you're waiting for this to come on. And all of a sudden, buenos días, muchachas, señores y señoras. ¿Cómo estamos este día? I'm like, what did it change? What the heck happened? And then later on that morning, you get the news article that comes across. Classic rock gone, Spanish station replaced it. Like basically no word, no anything whatsoever. So you're right. If you're not on any kind of digital platform, and especially like AM is just a thing of the past where it's coming down to. I know that some places they still have it. I think
there's AM and FM sports, but a lot of them still don't, which is stupid to me.
Yep. But it's just become a thing in the past. It's unfortunate, but
I'm telling you, like down here, it was fucking brutal. Craig and I were livid. We get a call on. I think it was Memorial Day weekend, to be honest with you. We get a call on a Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon or Saturday midday. And the first thing we both thought with a phone call is, okay, they're firing us. They're going to shut down. They didn't. They tell us they're taking away the 99.3 signal and going to be on 98.1 and then some fucking dinky 770 AM, which is what they were on, and all that stuff. They don't tell anybody. They told us the next day, actually it was a Friday because we had it off. The next day, my good friend Captain Debbie, great. She's come such a long way. She's one of the best fishing captains on the planet down here. She has to come on after the format changes and the station changes. First of all, nobody could find the station because it wasn't announced. There was no press release until a few days later. And she has to come on and take the brunt of the phone calls from people pissed. And of course, the host always gets the worst of it because they think you did it.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, and, you know, I called her during one of the breaks and she was almost in tears. I said, Debbie, just go with it. And I said, don't worry about it. Let you and Rick handle it. And Rick Church, great producer. And they did, and they got through it. But for the company to not tell them what was going on and have them do their dirty work, a young lady who was just starting, just started to do the show by herself, basically, and had to deal with angry texters and angry callers, it was one of the most unprofessional things I've ever witnessed in my life in this business. It really was. And I don't give a fuck who's listening and what they care about it. It simply was. And that if it was done to any of those people over there, not related, I'm sure you would have been upset as well. It was unbelievable. And, and I'm on the phone with, I was like, I cannot believe this. I cannot. And then they did it. They fired people in the same company, the same cluster, 2 or 3 other times with morning drive and with no announcement. They just went and did it. Now, it's a cut and throw business, but when you move around people, morning drive and afternoon drive and do this, that, and the other thing, you got to give, if nothing else, for your sponsors, you have to let them know. Otherwise, you take a kick in the nuts. It's just like a kick in the nuts. And the previous company that I worked for was notorious for doing that. So unprofessional. It's one thing about firing people and doing this, that, and the other thing. But to do that with no announcement, even at least in other bigger companies that I've worked for, if you're going to switch and do morning drive or afternoon, whatever it is, you got to give the people like a week's notice so they can get ready. You don't switch signals overnight, give no notice, there's no press release, except word of mouth, and they did not give a shit. And they didn't give a shit about the clients either, because that's blatantly obvious. Which I would have been, and it cost them. I mean, some people, obviously got out down here and at other places I've worked at too, for this reason or that reason. So it's just, the unprofessionalism that has gone down, not just down here, what other people down here have gone through at Southwest Florida and some others, obviously around the country. The people, you know what I'm talking about. It's one thing about coming after a show like at me in 2010 in Boston, and they come and say, okay, they're letting me go. And me and a bunch of other people at the time at Entercom, like I said, I got rehired twice and left on my own terms the last time on good terms. And still have a lot of good friends up there. But, the people running Entercom, the David Fields of the world, and now Odyssey, whatever else. I mean, they're all gone. $290 million in bankruptcy. Beasley's the net worth of the company down here is about $8.2 million. They're not going to survive. I mean, they can't. It's hard to get a bank loan. It's hard to you can't sell it. It's going to be, and the same, and Cumulus, the same thing. You just hear about layoffs after layoffs after layoffs. It's all going to come out in the wash. And then you're going to have shows like mine who will always tell you like it is. I have never been afraid, and Glenn is the same way, and I learned this a lot from him. Glenn has never been afraid, or never was, to attack or talk about issues in the business on the whole, and people who are in broadcasting who come under fire, whether they're pissing out a window, like what's his name at ESPN back in the day, and whether it's ESPN or broadcasters getting in trouble, you talk about it. It's happened to me. It happened to me one time where I got put in the Boston Herald because I got suspended because I drank a couple of vodkas, probably more than I should have, before one of my post-game shows, and they suspended me for 4 days without pay. I can't remember, with or without pay. I can't remember. And the Boston Herald, Boston Herald, they have a page 6 like the New York Post does. And,
Right.
it was I forget what the hell it was, the name of the segment. But the headline in the Herald was WEEI Yacker gets suspended. That was the headline.
Goodness.
So I had to go through that and explain to everybody. I'm like, I fucked up. I had a few sponsored vodkas. I probably shouldn't have. I was a little tipsy in the first segment after a page, and I shouldn't have done it. And I learned a very valuable lesson. So it was a dumbass move on my thing. I'm not saying I was like, nothing like that.
Right.
But enough where I deserved it. I deserved it. It was a dumb thing. I was a lot younger at the time. No excuse. No excuse. I know what I was doing. And I was trying to please the sponsor and the salesperson. But anyway, regardless. So what do you think happened? Every single show on WEI made fun of me, ripped me to shirt, did bits about me. And I was home listening. I wasn't crying. I was laughing my head off. I'm like, you know what? I deserve it. At first I felt angry. But then I said, no, you can't be angry at this stuff. You can't. I mean, you did it. If it was anybody else in the business, we would have done it. And we did. We made a whole bunch of bits about it. And then after about a month, it had died down. And once in a while, somebody would bring it up on the Weiner line, and we make fun of it again. That's it. But you never, it's called the Inside Track on in the Boston Herald. I'm not sure they still have it or not. But it is, they would, if they saw you walking down the street, they would say something. If they saw back then, the radio people, our station was like Seinfeld. We were like bigger than life. So anything we did was public. Didn't matter where we were, what we were doing. And, but we always were around people. We never shied away. We did a lot of remotes. We did a lot of stuff after shows with fans and everything else. So I think myself and Glenn and Meter, back then, John Dennis, Kurt Menahan, afterwards, Jerry Callahan, even Dale Arnold, Michael Holly, Mike Adams. We all were very accessible to everybody. It's very rare for a sports radio station like that, but it was like people just wanted to be. It was very flattering, by the way. Great listeners, and still do. A lot of them are listening to this show, and I say the same thing about working at 99.3. Or ESPN Southwest Florida. Can't stress enough how much I loved our audience. And Craig still talks about it. It's a wonderful, wonderful audience that we have. It's very diverse, very fun, all really, really good people. I'll give another example real quick. I know I'm going to. We did an event, a meet and greet with some of the fans, Angel down. It was actually on Cape Coral. And this is a true story. And I'm like, well, we asked all these people to come down here to come meet and greet with us. I think everybody got one drink ticket, which is fine. I understand it. We used to have, because we had all these cute texture names. Now, every radio station does it. We had, we didn't have texture names in Boston, but the screen was, jamming. Constantly, so much so. Sometimes you had to turn it because it would be too distracting for the host to keep looking at the text coming in. Most of them sort of stupid or trying to do their own little jokes and all that stuff, hoping that it'd be creative. So we do this meet and greet at Cape Coral, right? No food. There's like 100 people, 150, 100 people, right, of our listeners that come down for this. No food. So I spend $300 out of my pocket to buy food for everybody because the company didn't want to spend money on food. And it's just, that's the kind of thing. I sat there, I just fucking couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take care of these people if you're not going to do it, because these are loyal listeners, and they came down here to see us, and we're not giving them any food, but we asked them to stay for 3 hours. No. So I took care of the food, and but that's the kind of stuff you have to go through. So, the audience members that I had, or, I'm sure Craig still does at ESPN Southwest Florida, at least for now, I don't take any of them for granted. All really, really cool, nice people. They were so loyal to all the remotes we did, just like in Boston. We packed places. It was insane. And I never take the audience for granted. Never. We might disagree from time to time, as we should, in different things. And You may not love my style all the time, whatever, and I totally accept that because not everybody is the same. And this is not terrestrial radio. But one thing you will always get out of me, I will always speak from my heart and hopefully from my head. And I'm not going to be Joe New England homer. Yes, I root for all my New England teams to win and my Miami Hurricanes. But when they suck, I say they suck. It's not brain surgery. What we're doing here. I don't overly try to, the Celtics I thought were going to have a very, very impressive run until they didn't. And then we found out a bunch of other things. No, they still should have won that series, not making any excuses, but nevertheless. But that's what I'm all about. And if you're new to this, that's me. I'm going to always try to tell it like it is. And we're going to discuss a lot of topics a lot of people won't touch. But I've always learned, and I told you, I learned from one of the best in Glenn Ordway, the most controversial topics, you have to go at it, whether it has to deal with race. I won't do the political thing. 99% of the time, I won't do the political thing. It's not worth it. It pisses off sponsors one way or the other. And I don't give a shit what party you root for. I don't care. I think it's so over the top and both. It's just so extreme. You can't say one thing without offending another. So I just stay away from it because I hate them all. Honestly, I hate them all. And the bullshit that comes out of both sides is absolutely, stunning to me that we can't at least approach a happy medium of compelling conversation and dialogue. It's just, you suck. No, you suck. So that's why I stay away from it. Anyway, there you have it. I'm not even gonna take a break. We're gonna keep going here.
Sure.
Anyway, so Angel, I'm sure. You have your trials and tribulations. We all do, but I think we enjoy what we do in this business, and especially the toy department of the broadcast business, which is this. And I can't thank all the listeners enough, whether they're from Southwest Florida or around New England or around the rest of the country, around the world, which we do have a lot. So it's been great. And I will come here every day, during the week, Monday through Friday, and we'll try to do the best shows we can. I'm not going to promise you we're doing 3-hour shows every day. We're probably one of the only sports radio shows that even approaches 3 hours on most days. Most people do an hour. Or an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I've come to the conclusion, even though I put on all the social media posts about 7 to 10, some days it'll be 7 to 10, some days it's going to be 7 to 9, sometimes it might be even 7 to 8:30. It all depends on what's happening that day. I'm not going to try to force feed or repeat everything over and over again like you're watching SportsCenter from 2 to 5 in the morning Eastern time, where it's just the same old tape shit over and over again. I'm not going to do that. Now, I will play a video more than once if I think it's amusing. And you're always looking at different audiences, say, every 20 minutes. Though I'm not sure about the digital platform. We have a lot of people that stay on for the whole show. They keep us on in the background for the entire program. Angel knows more about that stuff than I do, keeps track of those numbers. But all I can tell you is we try to do fun and entertaining stuff here. And you won't be able to get it in a lot of other places, particularly terrestrial radio, because either being told not to do it, they edit it out, or they're just not knowledgeable enough. They're just not knowledgeable enough. That's what it is. Go ahead.
Even on XM radio, XM when it first came out, because it wasn't terrestrial radio, it was, satellite radio. You can say whatever you wanted to. Not anymore. Once the FCC got involved with the XM, it was like, nope, you can't. The only person got away with was the one out in New York. I'm not even going to mention his name, but he was the only one that was able to get away with it. Everybody else, you can forget about it.
He gets away with it. He gets away with it on his main platform, but sometimes when they repeat the shows, they edit a lot of his stuff out. But I love Pat. I think he's the best thing at ESPN that they've had in a long, long time. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. Yeah, I know there are people over there that hate his guts because they think he's allowed to get away with stuff that other shows can't, and they're right. Other shows could do what he's doing. They just choose not to. They just give you the fake contrarianism bullshit. It's the same stuff. You hear the same stories on ESPN morning radio. You hear it on Get Up with Greeny afterwards. Then you hear it on First Take. It's the same people, same guests, saying the same old boring shit.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. And all they'll talk about today is how the Knicks, can they steal a game and get it back to the Garden? They're not going to steal a game tomorrow night. They won't. They will not steal that game. I bet my life on it. Angel's life. Bet the house on the Pacers on the money line tomorrow night. They will not lose that game. Jerry says, every time you start talking about old-time radio, you make me miss the big show even more. Yeah, well, Again, management there, they fucked it all up. They messed with such a good thing. GMs coming in, they wanted their thumbprint. Guys like Jeff Brown, who was an absolute ass clown. That's why I quit on the air back the first time I got rehired. I think he went to Cumulus and got fired from there. I don't know, just a jackass who's going to come in, who would never meet with me personally, didn't have the balls to do it, but was going to put his thumbprint on the station, screwed everything up, messed with all the shows, was a drunk at one point in a major event we were doing, and made a fool out of himself with a sponsor, and that's the stuff. But they want to let me go, and some others they screwed around with. It was embarrassing what they went through over there. But I'm just telling you that some of the stuff that's happened, and most of the stuff in my career has been great. Most, I'd say 95% of it, 98% has been great. But the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and the backstabbing that's happened is crazy. And there's stuff I could say about some other people that most of you wouldn't even believe. And I don't want to do that. Other people have tried to do that. I don't sit here and beg for sponsors. I don't sit here and beg for clicks or listeners and anything else. The only people that do that kind of stuff are people who have been out of the game for a little bit and are trying so desperately hard to seek attention, to stay in it for some reason or another. And but they don't have a lot of these people come on, they'll do a show like this. They don't have any sponsors. They don't have any viewership. They don't have the proper equipment to do it. It sounds like shit. And begging for sponsors and begging for clicks is something that I will never do. You either love the show, you want to be on the show or not. We have a huge audience. Can it be bigger? Yeah, but we are definitely growing. This network is growing. The Coastal Sports Network is growing. We just got confirmed a couple of new shows are going to be starting very soon in June, which is just about there. Spalding, Dylan says, Pete, I finally got my foot off the boat. Yeah. I should have had Dylan. See, I get, and sometimes Ange, you're going to have to remind me of this. When we have these big races coming up, whatever, we should have had Dylan, because Dylan follows. Like, I didn't do any Indy 500 shit last Thursday, and I probably should have, because it's out of my depth. But nevertheless, it's still an important story, and to talk about it for 10 minutes is okay. And Dylan follows all that stuff, right? He follows NASCAR.
Oh, yeah. Dylan can give you the ins and outs as far as Indy, NASCAR. I mean, he's really good with the coverage he ends up doing for the Spalding Media Network, but he does a really good job. And Indy, he's I want to say it's like very close, near and dear to his heart, along with other stuff. And obviously for him working with Wells, with CGM, with City Garage Motorsports, which hopefully we'll get that segment back up and running soon. But yeah, Dylan does a really, really good job covering motorsports. And I think there's times where people won't acknowledge it. And to me, I tell them,
it's a huge audience. You have to acknowledge it. And I'm stupid for not acknowledging it last Thursday. I know we had Friday off, but I should have, I should have had Dylan on. I just didn't, it was my fault. And I do apologize. So next big race, whatever big race, Dylan, you think is coming up, you're more than welcome to come on. Let me know a day in advance so I can promote it, on my social media, because I don't keep track of NASCAR stuff. I got the 4 majors to keep track of and college football. And now that the Red Sox suck, and now that the Celtics are out of it, now that the Bruins are out of it, even though I'm looking forward to Florida and Edmonton, which we'll get to in a second, and the Stanley Cup Final, a rematch. Remember, it's Stanley Cup Final, NBA Finals, but Stanley Cup Final coming up Wednesday night, Game 1, by the way, in Edmonton. It'll be the Florida Panthers at the Edmonton Oilers. And I want to say that game is at 8 o'clock, but I could be wrong. I think it's at 8 o'clock. We talked about this yet, but it's Wednesday night. I believe it's Wednesday night at 8 p.m. But yeah, as far as auto racing goes, or any big race coming up, whether it's Formula One, whatever, I'll certainly dedicate 10, 15 minutes to it, because there definitely is an audience for it. And down here in Florida, I know there's a huge audience for it. So we'll do that. Spalding said I had a race team acknowledged by contributions, and they run the top class of the sports car racing, and the PR girl told me my work is their top promotion. Well, I believe it. I've had you on before, and I know how knowledgeable you are. I am not. I told you. I know one term in auto racing, drafting. which is where you try to screw the person, get them pinned to the wall, right, and then and have you and your teammate fly by. It's like getting caught in a jet wash, it seems, in like Top Gun. That's what it seems like to me. That's the only term I know, except start your engines. That's it. That's it. I know nothing else. I know start your engines and drafting. And my friend Janet said this to me, who I haven't seen in many, many years. Great sports fan and a huge NASCAR girl. And we were having a conversation once. It was at a Super Bowl party. And I was making fun and I was saying something. And all of a sudden, from out of the crowd of like 1,000 people, she goes, "It's called drafting, you asshole." But she said it tongue in cheek. And the whole place just cracked up. Probably came over the air that way. But it was really, really funny. Janet, you were a piece of work. Anyway, Le Mans 24 hours coming up in a few weeks. Is that they race for 24 hours?
They sure do. And they got the Rolex 24.
No sleep?
Huh?
No sleep.
No, they switch out the drivers. They'll have you'll have a team with you. So the guys who get out, they'll rest up a little bit and vice versa. But the Le Mans is huge, and along with the Rolex 24, which is before the Daytona 500, and Dylan covered as well. Dylan was up there. The kid is so much invested that not only did he sleep in his car, he put a tent on the roof of his car. So he was able to cover the entire thing, and he was sleeping and then typing at the same time. That's
I bet Evan Cohen didn't do that. I bet Evan Cohen didn't do that.
Nope. Dylan, he's an absolute nut. He's a race nut, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's good. The only thing that drove me nuts about NASCAR was when they decided to switch things, where it used to always be, "Gentlemen, start your engines," and now it's "Drivers, start your engines." Like, okay.
Well, because of some ladies that are in it.
Yeah, but even the women didn't care. For them, it was like, okay, it's gentlemen, big deal. It wasn't, but no, they went to whole "Drivers, start your engine." Like, all right, it's just not the same feel, but whatever, I'm old school.
Spalding says, "Pete, I stayed up 23 hours of 24 at Daytona."
Told you.
But Daytona doesn't last 24 hours.
Yeah, the Rolex 24, not the Daytona 500.
The Rolex 20. Okay. Yeah.
He does. And then either that, or he'll call me up for at least 18 of the 24 hours so I can stay up with him just to keep him company, one or two. But yeah, no, Dylan does a really good job.
Oh, no, I know he does. All right, before we go to break, there's one. I was going to play some videos today. We got sidetracked a little bit, but Bill Burt's coming up at 8:05, and then at the bottom of the hour, Jerry Thornton, and then we'll call it a day after like 9 o'clock. But I did want to play this. The controversial game last night, which this would be a lead story in most markets, but on ESPN National, they don't even acknowledge it. This was a major faux pas in a Western Conference Championship game. The Oilers beat the Stars last night 63 is a lot closer than the score indicated. But the big story in this one was Dallas head coach Pete DeBoer taking out Ottinger, their great goaltender, in the third period for Casey DeSmith. It didn't work out, and his explanation is just horse crap. It really is. So if we could, under Spit and Chicklets, Angel, scroll down. Let's see. Under the show, 1, 2, 3. Here's Pete DeBoer, the video on why he pulled his goalie. That's it right there. Why he pulled a goalie last night. And his explanation, in the words of Eric Cartman, lame.
Well, anytime you pull a goalie, there's the reasoning's always to try and spark your group. So that was the number one reason. We had talked endlessly in this series about trying to play with the lead. And obviously we were in a 2-0 hole right away. And you know what, I didn't take that lightly, and I didn't blame it all on Jake. But, the reality is if you go back to last year's playoffs, he's lost 6 to 7 games to Edmonton, and we gave up 2 shots on 2 goals in an elimination game. So, it was partly to spark our team and wake them up, and partly, knowing that, status quo had not been working, and that's a pretty big sample size.
It'd be one thing, Angel, and if you didn't see it, I understand fathers didn't see it. These were not soft goals that he gave up. Absolutely not. Len, here's the reaction from on ESPN last night. when he got pulled. Is this it? Let's see. Let me try to find it, because I mean everybody was shocked. Well, the announcers certainly were shocked. Here's how it sounded last night on ESPN. Sean McDonough and Ferraro. Come on, there we go.
Also, a goalie change, stunning. As Casey DeSmith comes in, Jake Ottinger was looking at DeBoer, not happy at all as he came out of the net.
What do you think about this, Ray? I mean, I don't know how you fault Ottinger on either one of those. I mean, guys right in front of him, point blank range.
And here's how the first 2 goals sounded. They scored 2 goals on 2 shots. This had nothing to do with Ottinger.
He's had a point in every game in this series. Centering pass, Perry scores. Beautiful feed by McDavid. A power play goal for Corey Perry.
All right, and shortly after that, another one.
2 goals for Dallas in the last 3 games. No one else in green has scored in 8 days. Here's another goal for Edmonton. Matthias Janmark makes it 2-0.
And Edmonton was not done. They get another one in the first period.
In front for Trent Frederick. Now it's Skinner, and he scores.
Oh, my goodness.
Jeff Skinner making his first appearance of the series.
Yeah, none of those goals, Wattenberg, none of them. And again, they cut it to 3-2. Dallas did. They cut it to 4-3. And then in the end, it was an empty netter. Then Dallas won 6-3 last night. But that was, I thought that was a major dumbass move by DeBoer to pull him. It didn't work. It'd be one thing if they were soft goals. They weren't at all. All right, Angel, but let's take a quick break. And then Bill Burt from the Eagle Tribune going to join us. We're going to talk some NFL football, some Patriots, the Diggs, Vrabel situation, some college baseball, as well as the tournament gets underway today. Phil Cassadi's Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. So get on down to the Phil Castanetti Sports World, 184 Broadway in Saugus, Mass. And even if you're not from there or whatever, you can still call, look on the webpage. He's got beautiful stuff, not just New England memorabilia, a whole bunch of stuff. Call 781-233-7222 for more information, 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus, be there. Quick break. Bill Burt, Eagle Tribune, next here on the Pete Sheppard Show on a Freeform Friday on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
For Granlund, who's been, look out.
It's McDavid. Hintz trying to catch him. McDavid scores! The breakaway goal for Connor McDavid.
Thanks, Sean McDonough. Call last night on ESPN. The breakaway goal by Connor McDavid, leading the Edmonton Oilers to their second straight Stanley Cup final in a rematch with the Florida Panthers. They won 6-3 last night. Welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show, hour number 2 here on the Coastal Sports Network on this Freeform Friday. Freaky Friday, fabulous Friday. Anyway, thanks everybody for checking us out here on the Coastal Sports Network. Following me on Twitter, X at PShep326, and also across YouTube, Rumble, Kick, CSN Florida, LinkedIn, calling or texting the show, 727-858-6650. Bill Burt is supposed to join me any second now. Hopefully I won't have to text him. But sometimes with Bill, you never know. You never know. By the way, while I can, here's Connor McDavid a little bit after the game last night.
All right, so I got to ask you about the trophy. When did you decide, or what was the decision like to touch it? I know it's a big deal, but maybe not.
I don't know. I didn't know what was going to happen when we got up there. We did last year, give it a go this year.
You had a great line last year because you said neither team touched the trophy, but one has to win the cup, and now that's what you want. What do you think of what this team has done to this point?
It's been fun. I just did another interview. I said, how this year feels a little bit more normal, just been kind of status quo. It's been fun to be a part of. Hasn't been as emotional. Been very just kind of direct and smooth and steady. It's been fun.
All right, there you go. There's Connor McDavid. So Wednesday night, Game 1 in Edmonton, Stanley Cup Final between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. It should be a great one, much like last year's series was. Let's see. I just text Billy. Hang on. Here we go.
Cheers.
Sorry, give me 3 minutes.
Well, the last time we caught him wandering around with the building from one room to the other, and then he had to shift around.
All right. Let me try to get some video in here. The Knicks win last night. If we could scroll down to Angel, Chuck on talking about Robinson, why he gets stupid fouls, but it's 200 the show.
Right here.
NBA on TNT. So Knicks win 111-94. I'm not completely surprised. Yes, I wanted the Pacers to win, but I'm not surprised. The Knicks hung around. Typical NBA. You win the game 5 at home. They'll go back and Indiana will close it out tomorrow night. Here's Chuck and the boys. And stupid foul talk.
Well, I got to say something now. I got to criticize you. Yeah, man, why do you be getting them dumb fouls?
I was going to ask the same question.
Why do you do that?
God only knows.
I mean, because, when you got your fourth foul, they took you out. They made a run.
Yeah.
You got to stop doing that.
I got to do a much better job.
Yes.
I got to do a much better job.
You can get fouls, but a couple, like the other day when you just grabbed somebody by the wrist.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Or you talking about last game or this game?
Last game.
Every game. Oh, you talking about the one with the pick and roll?
Every game. You
just
grabbed his arm.
Yeah.
But you can't be getting those fouls.
I can't. You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. I hurts our team.
Well, I got to say something now. I got to criticize you.
All right. There you go. Anyway, the Knicks win 111-94 last night. Jalen Brunson was very good. Had 32 points. Karl Anthony Towns had 24 and 13 boards despite a bruised left knee. Blah, 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 blah. Don't worry, Toronto Maple Leafs / New York Knicks. It'll all be over tomorrow night when you lose. If we could scroll one up, Angel, interesting conversation. One of the few on when it usually is with Michael Wilbon and Brian Windhorst, and I forget who else is there. Which team should try for Giannis? And lo and behold, the Celtics came up in this conversation.
Can anybody in the East match that?
I don't know if they can match it, but there is one team in particular that I think is going through a revamp and a gap year in the Boston Celtics where it could be interesting. Right? Jason
Tatum.
Tatum.
Up one of the two stars. Have to, right?
Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum. Probably on the side of Jaylen Brown more than Jason Tatum because of his versatility and how he plays. They're also new ownership, so it's fluid, right? New ownership coming in. What kind of salaries can he actually sustain? And Porzingis getting older, Al Horford getting older, Drew Holiday getting older. You have Derek White kind of lingering there. I would rather keep Derek White. I'm not sure draft collateral what they have, Brian, but it seems like Boston's in that sweet spot to a degree, at least in my opinion.
Can anybody in the East match that?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Look, I think this team, obviously, Jason Tatum may be available in March next year, maybe, and that's a big maybe. But that's most of the season, obviously. So, look, I don't think Porzingis is going to be on the Celtics. I don't think Drew Holiday is going to be on the Celtics. Everybody else, and Al Horford, although he said a couple of months ago he's coming back, I don't know if he is. So he may not be there as well. So, yes, you're still going to have Jaylen Brown. You're still going to have Derek White. You're still going to have Peyton Pritchard. You're still going to have Hauser. You're still going to have some other guys. But they're going to look. It's going to be a different looking type of team, unless something happens here that I don't know about, that they keep Holiday and Porzingis, which I highly doubt. But we shall see. And there he is, just like that. We welcome in the one and only Bill Bird here from the Eagle Tribune on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network. Did you forget about me on this Friday?
Yeah, so a couple things came up.
At least he said it. Yes.
I'm on the road. Yeah, I did forget. My bad. So thank you. Thanks for pinging me.
Where you at?
I'm in New Jersey, Somerset, New Jersey.
Oh, you on vacation?
Watching a little baseball.
Oh, your son.
Yes.
Who plays for the Yankee organization. So again,
yes.
We'll start with that. So it's he's playing today.
Briefly, we talk a little too much about that, I think.
No,
but thank you for asking. Things are good. I had a good game last night. I drove down yesterday morning, and beautiful day. It was like 75 degrees. Probably, it was Florida yesterday for the first time in a long time up here in the Northeast, and it's why I'm going to move to Florida because it was perfect, and we don't get any of these days. A little humid, but beautiful. Great game.
Nice.
A couple superstars made some great plays. Jazz Chisholm did a rehab game. Had a great game. I'm telling you, he is an athlete. I've seen him now twice. I was down there for batting practice as well, and he's legit. Yankees are, I know we're a lot of Boston-based stuff here. The Yankees are going to be tough to beat. Their pitching staff they're the opposite of the Red Sox. Everything's sort of gelling. I don't think they're a perfect team, but they're legit, and they have, 7 or 8, like 6 or 7 high-end players in the field, and the pitching staff is loaded, and their bullpen's loaded. So
I don't want to get aggravated on this Friday because I did it the last.
I'm saying my bad.
The last couple of days, and you're absolutely right about everything you said. And I had Ordway on yesterday. I've had Bill Sparrows. I mean, I am so disgusted with Alex Cora, and the Red Sox don't have the balls to fire him because they love him so much, and they love smooching him, and they love the contract in itself. I say, get some cojones. This guy has given up. He doesn't care. There is a disconnect. It has been, yes, the players deserve some blame. The last few games have been pathetic, from placing fielders in the right position. The whole hitting instructors, all of them should be gone. It's like, reminds me of the Patriots offensive line coaches. They should all be gone. They should have all been gone last year. Their approach to the plate, their philosophy stinks. Everybody, it stinks. They got young players playing out of position, which is going to continue tonight. Thank God I don't get to watch it. It's on Apple TV, so nobody will get to see the Red Sox play, and Christian Campbell make his start at first base, which, that'll get it going. But the manager and the disconnect of this team, Billy, is so disgusting to me. And the frustrating part is they don't have the balls to fire him. They've got to do something. This guy cannot continue to manage like this with this team the rest of the year. It's pathetic. They do so many fundamentally bad things. Real quick, let me just, Rafaela getting doubled up at third. Durant, even though I made a great play late in the game 2 days ago, then drops the ball in left field. You got the play by Christian Campbell throwing the ball home. Just baseball 101, stupid stuff. I don't want to hear this. Oh, he's a rookie. No, that's like Little League 101. The mistakes that they make, and Alex Cora with his wishy-washy Charlie Brown, Mike McDaniel type approach I've had it. I've absolutely had it. But I know we're probably going to be stuck with him the rest of the year because the Red Sox have no balls. If there was anybody else at any different time for the Red Sox, they would have fired this guy or fired their manager. This guy has got to go. Got to go, but they won't do it. Go ahead.
So, Pete, the only thing is I'm with you. I think Alex Cora has had a horrible year. But I will say this is – and I wrote this. This is my preview going into the year. This was his team. He got everyone he wanted. They got the trade. He got Crochet. He got Bregman. And then we knew the young kids would eventually come up and hopefully add value. We thought what's killed him is Cassis is not only out for the season, but really did not look good. And the shortstop, Trevor Story, I said this was a big year for Story and Casas because these guys were going to be able to just be in the background and not be the focus. Well, look what's happened.
Story's a joke.
Well, both of them. So now I'm going to go back to Cora. My issue with Cora is the reason he's manager of the Red Sox. The reason is his alleged relationships with all the players. He's able to mix and match with the Americans, with the Spanish, with all the Latin countries. He's the guy. He can call guys in and win them over. And what we found out day one, that wasn't true.
Down here in Fort Myers, we found out there wasn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Devers came in, and there was a problem right away. Well, the problem was they signed Bregman, and I will say, your big contract guy, that should have been handled before. Totally. And you fly down and see him, and you say, look, we're going to maybe move you to first, or we're going to have you at DH. We may move you to other places. And I blame the organization for that
Yes,
one. They
I
blew it.
totally agree.
But
Totally agree.
Cora blew it. Cora, that's supposed to be Cora's calling card. He's supposed to win over Devers. Remember, he coached Devers managed Devers when he was 18, 19 years old in
That's right.
2018. So Devers should be looking up to Cora. Cora should be the guy he emulates. Guess what? He doesn't.
No.
He doesn't care. And so that tells me a lot. I like Alex Cora. He's a good guy. He knows baseball. And this team and these problems. Look, there's been injuries too. We got to admit that. But we're only just over a third of the season in. They're not going to fire him, Pete. It's not going to happen until the whole year. I mean, he just signed a new contract.
I know he did. It was a big mistake, and they should own up to it. They should do what the Cleveland Browns did. Finally admit they swung big and missed, and that's Deshaun Watson. They at least finally came out and said it. There is no way. There's not going to be anybody at Fenway to watch these games. Roman Anthony coming up, which I mean, you need something. Jim Rice said it the other night. You need something to add a jolt. But it's his wishy-washy mentality of Alex Cora, the positioning of the defense, not having the infield end the other day in the Milwaukee game when they gave up that third run and we're down 3-1. And I've said this. I mean, it felt like they gave up 5 runs in that inning. That run was little things like that. Then he does it 2 days ago again. He doesn't have them guarding the lines, and of course, shit happens. The fundamental mistakes that this team makes are a lot of it is on him. Yeah, the players have to have some responsibility, but it's everything: running, throwing. Maya trying to tag up from second to third on Mr. Pop-Up Trevor Story. I said Jaron Duran wouldn't have tried to tag up from there. You can't be the third out at third base in a situation like that. And I don't want to hear any excuses. He's a rookie. That is Little League 101, Legion 101, Baseball 101. Guys at lower levels get benched for stuff like that.
But Pete, the problem is they don't get benched in the minors for that. Here's the deal, Pete. Lou Merloni, you've had Lou on recently? Yeah. So Lou's the best. Lou realizes and says he basically exposed it the other day. And I agree with them 1,000%. Mm-hmm. The Red Sox are a young team. Forget about their record. Yeah. Forget about they're a young team. But these players are in the minor leagues are not taught baseball, Pete. Everything is about hitting.
Analytics. Yeah.
Defense is secondary. And they'll do some base running stuff, but it's marginal to what these guys grew up with, what Lou Merloni grew up with, what Jim Rice grew up with. And the baseball knowledge of these guys is at an all-time low. And I'm talking the fundamentals of the game.
No, you're right.
And we're seeing that. And so you're depending on guys, and this is what Lou said, that I think most of all, these guys aren't taught to win in the minors. They're just taught to have good exit velocity, good OPS. And that stuff matters too much, unfortunately. And then when they get together and you're supposed to depend on these guys, they don't know how to win. They've never learned how to win. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a systemic problem in all of baseball. I think there's only a few teams. Look, you get a guy like Aaron Judge, it's different. Judge is the captain. You're all going to, he gets there. This is how we do things. That's only happening with a couple of teams. The Philadelphia Phillies are one.
You just took the words out of my mouth. Hang on, I'll stop you right there because I watched the whole first game yesterday and part of the second one of the Phillies, not just because Angel Martinez and that's his team. Mm-hmm. They do the first game. They are so anti-Red Sox. They do everything right. I mean, everything, even though they lost their closer because of the drug thing. But nevertheless, the way people were, Dombrowski's awesome. The way people were positioned, the way the game was managed, the way the bullpen was handled. It got a little dicey in the ninth inning with the bases loaded. They got out of it. It was just. I'm sitting there going, why can't the Red Sox somewhat at least fundamentally sound be like this? I can accept losing. I cannot accept horrible fundamental baseball and horrible managing, and that is what the Red Sox have. It's what the Phillies.
You said it, Pete. The Phillies are about winning.
Yep.
And they don't. The numbers are gone, and it's run by baseball people.
Yes.
So the biggest problem, again, now we're talking a systemic macro problem.
I love that word, by the way.
The biggest problem in baseball is that the baseball people report to the analytics department, and it's the opposite of the way it should be. And listen,
you're so right.
Pete,
You are so right. We had this conversation with Glenn Ordway yesterday, and it's funny. I beg people to go on RedSox.com and just go to team and look under who's getting paid. Look under the staff. It's like reading the Bible. I mean, compared to other organizations. I mean, they got some. It is like, who are these people? They're dummies, a lot of them. It sounds like they're video game analytics, and it doesn't take in consideration heart and intelligence and instinct or any of that stuff. It's all fucking video game. Even Billy Bean and James weren't this bad, not like this. You know, the approach to the plate is pathetic for the whole team.
What they can't do is the people that are running analytics, when you get in the box, they can offer you no advice. They don't know what to do once you're in the box. And what do you deal with? The count's 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really that's the biggest problem, in my opinion. They don't understand. They can't, because that's really the game. Okay, you do got to work on your swing. Those things do matter, and you got to get the ball in the air a little bit. But the game is about adjusting pitch to pitch. That's the game. It's the best competition, in my opinion, in all of sports. Pitcher and hitter. It's to this day, it's like a boxing match, and we have allowed the analytics part of this, and I say we have allowed the analytics part of this battle win out. And so what we're doing, Pete, I've been to over 300 minor league games, and pitchers are going 4 2/3 innings, throwing 85 pitches and leaving the game.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen when they get to the majors? Guess what? They're going to do what Brian Bayo does. They leave in the middle of the 4th inning, the 5th inning, and that's how these guys
here's the thing. Here's the thing. 2 things. One, the crochet thing, that was horribly handled as well. I don't care that you had it circled on next to your laundry list. You can't do that. You can't do that in advance, knowing the day before you taxed your bullpen with 5 or 6 relievers.
And you need to win. You need to win.
You need to win, absolutely. And he was pissed. Crochet was pissed. I don't blame him. And now what's he going to be thinking no matter when? Is this the day I only pitch 80 pitches or 85? And then you got Bayo the other day, who should have been left in after 77 pitches. If for no other reason, he only gave up 1 earned run, you got to leave him in. You had 7 relievers the day before. 7. What are you doing? I know Dobbins was the starter, but he went back to the bullpen. But what are you doing? You can't take your starter out after 77 pitches and 1 earned run. And then when you taxed your bullpen the day before, that makes no sense to me. And during this 5-game losing streak, the starters have been fine. The ERA is 1.71. They just can't hit for shit. And the bullpen's ERA, I think, is 5.43.
Bullpen's not good.
That's Alex Cora. I don't understand. Does somebody ask him, how can you not leave Bayo in when you use 7 relief pitches the day before? Right. Where's that fucking answer?
Right. And look, Bayo's a young guy. We got to see if this guy can handle the pressure. Let him work through some stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. He gives up a run. I agree. Well, they got to take chances now, Pete. I will say, look, here's what I think your overall point is. There is talent here, and the young talent's coming up, and is Cora the guy to lead them?
No.
And thus far, it hasn't looked that way.
All right, we could do this all. Let's get to a couple of other things. Now, Shaughnessy just tweeted this out too, and I thought I saw this earlier. Jason Aldean's Full Throttle Tour, did you hear about this? His appearance at Fenway this weekend is canceled because of structural issues with the stage built on the Red Sox playing field. Because the Red Sox are in Atlanta. They're on Apple TV tonight, so I can't watch it, which is just as well. All right, a couple of other things. We'll get to the Patriots last and what your feelings are on the Stephon Diggs situation. But college baseball, I know this is near and dear to your heart, especially Northeastern. 27 in a row, 36-1 the last 37. Your son obviously was a star there in the infield back in the day. Mike Lavin, the coach, which I know you know, recruited you. I mean, Northeastern, Holy Cross, Rhode Island, Central Connecticut, and Fairfield. A remarkable feat, even though
UConn got screwed. They should have been in.
I know. My
You
boys
won.
screwed them. My Miami
They won.
Hurricanes got in before they did, and they beat Miami twice, and they beat Vanderbilt, and they beat North Carolina. So there's a beef there, but sorry. I want my
big day
Hurricanes.
big tournament for New England baseball. And and I will say this: URI can hit like URI is as good. And I know a kid on the team, Nico Notarangelo.
Yes, I played his cut the other day.
So he's from Taunton, Mass. His dad grew up with me in Germantown and Quincy.
Oh,
so
wow.
we know the family right across the street from me. So I followed them. And Northeastern is a different animal. I've been down there. I've watched them a few times this year. We are still close with the coach and a couple of coaches. Chris Bosco, a coach from North Andover. They got 3 players from North Andover on the team. Another kid from Andover. So we have a close connection from our newspaper.
That's great.
But there's something brewing there. They have 2 hitters, Harrison Weinberg, Cam Maldonado, who are they're potential major leaguers.
I thought for sure you'd be at that regional. Where's Northeast? I forget. I don't have the schedule for. Where's Northeast? They've been Tallahassee.
Northeastern's at the Florida State region.
Tallahassee region. But Florida State should not have gotten that region over Georgia Tech, but we digress.
Yes, but Northeastern opens with Mississippi State.
Yep.
Mississippi State, and then Bethune-Cookman's in the region. So, all right. By the way, Mississippi State's favored over Northeastern. Now, Mississippi State has no right being favored. They're only favored because they're an SEC team.
Yeah,
and they lost their first game in their SEC tournament. They were ousted, but it's SEC. Now, their problem is their coach got fired in the middle of the season. Their pitching coach or whoever's running the team, they've already hired. The Virginia coach is going to take over the team next year. So there's a little turmoil there. Northeastern plays them tonight at 7:30. And then Florida State's got 2 potential Division I first-round draft pick pitchers. So not going to be easy. The only thing is Northeastern's got one of the most complete teams in the country, and I'm talking country. They've averaged over 10 runs, close to 10 runs a game. Their pitching staff's number 1 second in ERA, number 1 in all other statistics. They have 5 starters. They only need really 3 to 4, but they have 5 legitimate starters.
Wow.
The midweek starter was 11-1 or 10-1.
I bet they don't go 4 2/3.
No, they don't. In fact, Glavin's anti-analytics.
Oh,
it's funny.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
About that. If you're pitching well, you're in. Now they also got a bullpen, but they also have 2 great hitters. But I'm all in on Northeastern, and this is a big year. Mike Glavin's name is going to come up for a few jobs. By the way, he was offered the Penn State job 2 years ago. He was going to take it, turned it down. Gambino left BC to take it.
He's done a good job over there too.
Yeah, this is different though. This is Northeastern. He's got a good chance of winning Coach of the Year, Division I baseball Coach of the Year. I think he's going to win it. And
how does he not? Who does that in any type of baseball? But D1, you win 27 in a row and 36-1.
Right.
Wow. I mean,
right. They have a chance, though. I think Georgia Tech's open. The coach is already leaving. They're hosting a regional.
Well, their coach has won it 3 times, and then we're not 3 in a row, but he's won it 3 or 4 times. Coach of the Year as well. ACC Coach of the Year, anyway, at least.
So Glavin's going to have a lot of suitors. Virginia's is open now. The Virginia coach left. He's coming to Mississippi State. So, but here's the deal. This is a great tournament, Pete.
I love it.
Omaha, the 8 teams that get to Omaha, they're treated like gods. It's like a 10-day event. Just like Pete, I'm a big women's softball. I'm watching that right now.
I do too. I do too.
In my opinion, the best sport for women, for me to watch, is women's college softball.
100% women's college softball. 100%.
It's like they're athletic. It's fast. It's quick. It's powerful. The energy in every game is amazing. Every stadium's full. So, and it's funny because Major League Baseball is getting involved. They're going to start a pro women's softball league. They're getting involved. This is going to all happen soon, probably next year, which is exciting because I hope it can work because I think I like basketball. No, I like softball. I like women's softball better. But that's a whole. But I digress.
When's the last time a New England team made it to Omaha? Was it Maine with Billy Swift back in the day? Was that the last New England team that made it to Omaha?
Maine made it, yes.
With Billy Swift those years.
That's when they were a dynasty.
Buck for years covering Maine. When he was with the Maine Guides and Buck was covering that team, we always bring it up. But that's the last time a New England team made it to Omaha because it's so difficult.
Well, Stony Brook made it out of New York here,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
2017 or
yeah.
18, and then this is a big. See, Northeastern represents the mid majors. Mid majors got screwed this year at large. That's why I was talking to the College of Charleston coach. He used to be the South Carolina coach.
Yeah.
He said we need Northeastern to do well to get to the World Series. They can save mid majors because right now, they had 13 schools from the SEC make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
said it's a joke. He goes, normally it's 7 or 8, and that's a lot. They got 13 this year. That's the way.
And the number one team in the country preseason, Texas A&M, doesn't make it.
It's crazy. How about that?
Yeah.
And look, I'm a big Vandy guy. Coach Corbin, he's a New England guy. He's from Exeter, New Hampshire.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that. They have their program is ridiculously awesome.
Yeah, so they do it right. So they pay NIL, but they don't go over the top. And they basically sell their college, they sell their program. If you're a major leaguer and you went there, you have your own locker room at Vanderbilt. So they want the players to come back and teach and instruct the other guys and talk to the other guys. They run the best program in the country. It's not even close, Vanderbilt, because what they do for the sport, the coach makes a couple $1 million because they bring the revenue in, but it's baseball at its best, and it's a gentleman-run organization. I'm a big Vanderbilt fan.
Well, I mean, it's first of all, it's great atmosphere in Nashville. You're right; they packed that stadium. There's very few D1 sports outside of football and basketball that can make money. Vanderbilt baseball is one, LSU baseball, Miami Hurricane baseball.
The SEC makes money. Like Mississippi State sells out.
Yeah, SEC makes money. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Not all of them, but it's baseball's a big sport down south, Pete. It's huge.
Yeah, no kidding. I know.
University of Texas, they sell out. Texas A&M, Texas Tech. I was at Texas Tech my son's senior year. What an experience that was. We saw the hoop team was in the NCAA tournament while we were there, so it was a great time. I'm a big college baseball fan, and I'm not saying we got to. It's like it is sort of a cult sport, but you will enjoy if you watch the tournament.
I watch it every year, so I love it. I love it.
And you connect with the team. It can be fun, a lot of fun.
I can't wait. 5 New England teams playing. I'm going to be watching all. My Hurricanes are playing Alabama today at noon, I believe, on ESPN2. Yep. So we'll see.
URI. Hey, don't discount URI either.
Except Dallas Baptist always has a super team. So, but they're also a 3 seed because Arkansas Little Rock, who got in with like a 22-30 record, is a 4 seed. So they catch a little bit of a break there. But playing at LSU, I worry about the intimidation factor. But they don't sound like a team that's going to be intimidated. So I can't wait.
No, they could score. Their pitching's not up to their URI is a team that can hit, but I love this time of year. But Northeastern, I'm excited about the Northeastern Southern Mississippi State game tonight. I can't wait.
Last thing in about a minute. What about any thoughts on Stephon Diggs and pink substances and yachts and everything else and blah, blah? Are you concerned at all? Mike Vrabel obviously, made his statement. Obviously he's not happy, but real quick, Bill, any concerns about Stephon Diggs, or is just another wide receiver being a diva?
Yeah, Pete, it's funny. Think of the last 25 years. We never really dealt with any weird incident like that, like a big public incident.
Except for Aaron Hernandez, but other than that,
no, that was after the fact. I'm talking about like in the middle, early in his career. Weird. You know what, Stephon Diggs, he's obviously a great player, and he has potential to have a great season with this team. I mean, this team is built pretty well. The offense is like, I'm going to say 5 times better than it was a year ago. Just stupid. This is like public. This is public stuff that if you want to do this on your own and there's no videos, you go on a boat, that's fine. You're not at camp. It's voluntary. You can come when you want. That's fine. I get it. Those are the rules. But it just doesn't look good. You're supposed to be a leader on this team. A leader, and you're there and they knew the filming was going on.
Why aren't you with Drake May trying to? I mean, I don't want this to turn into an AB situation. I hope to God it doesn't.
I don't know if it's in that level. It's just stupid. And look, Mike Vrabel said it best. He basically just said this is not, you got to make smart decisions. And he didn't say that was a dumb decision without saying it was a dumb decision. He knows it was a decision.
Absolutely.
And so what from here, what's Diggs going to do to answer that? Hey, in my opinion, I apologize. I probably shouldn't have done that. I was out on the road. I think he's got to say something like that to the team and when he meets with the media here. I'm assuming he's going to meet with the media soon. Just stupid. Mike Vrabel doesn't need this at the beginning of his tenure. Period.
I agree. And last thing I saw Drake May with an absolute bomb to Kyle Williams, of course, being covered by nobody, but nevertheless, it was an awesome video that I saw earlier.
Kyle Williams, Pete, he's a wild card here, because they have screwed up that position, drafting that position for 25 since since you and I have been following this team, literally with the Belichick era.
Yep.
He's got something, and you can see it. Like, Pete, you go to a practice, like I've been to many Pat camps, and you see a first round, second round pick, and you just say, he doesn't really stand out at all. That doesn't do anything discernible. This kid does. This Williams kid, there's an explosion to his game, and he's got a wide receiver one sort of attitude. So let's stay tuned. I'm excited.
Hopefully he'll rub off on Polk because, if you can get that guy going, we already know he has the speed. It's just a question of route running and catching the ball. If those two with Diggs can ever get it going, oh, boy.
That's a pretty good room. That's a pretty good room.
Unbelievable. You can factor in the tight ends as well. And the running back. Now you got something. But I can't wait for football to start because it's just so depressing. It happened to the Celtics. The Bruins don't even have a coach. And I can't wait for college football. I can't wait for this college baseball. Thank God it's starting this weekend. I got 6 teams I want to watch. All 5 New England and my Miami Hurricanes.
Good.
I'm gonna have that's what I'll be watching. That's what I'll be tuning into.
I will too. I can't wait. Starts tonight.
Right, you're the best. Good luck to you. Say hi to Max and your family. All the best. I hope he hits 10 home runs.
I'll take one.
Okay.
All right,
Billy. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Billy Burt, right there from the Eagle Tribune. Now we're going to text Jerry.
From one to the other. Yes, because Jerry's always good. By the way, thanks to everybody who's tuning in. We really do appreciate those who are over on our YouTube channel. We appreciate it. Don't forget, always, all we ask is just like and subscribe. That's it. Doesn't cost you anything.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Nope.
Yeah. I got a text once last year. It's like, I'm not paying for it. No one asked you to pay. It's free.
That's it. It's free to download. The app is absolutely free. So we just appreciate everyone who tunes in, especially our men and women in our armed forces who tune in every single day. We can't appreciate you guys and girls as always.
He says he's on. He says he's on. I don't see him.
Jerry?
Yeah.
Where's he on?
He says he's on. I don't see him.
I don't see him.
You sent him a new link yesterday?
He came on with the same link I sent him the week before. Ay, Dios mío. Yeah, where's he at? I don't see him.
I just resend him a link, please.
Okie dokies.
See, Angel sending you another one.
Yeah, because where are you, senor?
Yep.
He'll come on and say, "Oh, wait, I was the other one."
Yeah, I just find you have to keep sending some of our guests new links for whatever reason. Sometimes it doesn't work on their laptops. Sometimes it doesn't work on their phones and all that stuff. But anyway, Jerry Thornton, the great Jerry Thornton, my good friend from Barstool Sports, going to join us. Did I read that already? I think I did. All right. There he is, just like...
Oh, see? What happened there?
There he is, the one and only Jerry Thornton joining us from Barstool Sports. And for whatever reason... you were not there, but there you are, beaming in.
In the words of the great Homer Simpson, the internet is on computers now. But yeah, I was watching Bill Burt, and now I've realized I'm completely underqualified to follow him. So thanks. It's like
I will make this immediate analogy because this is the way my brain thinks. So the part in Star Trek Generations where Picard and Kirk first meet, and then he follows them into the barn, all that stuff. And then they walk up the stairs to Antonia. And what does Patrick Stewart say? This is not your bedroom. That is not your bedroom. That is not your house. Where are you?
Actually, no. This is sort of my spring office. In the summer, I'm going to go back out onto the patio. But yeah, this
A
is
little
just
flowers in the attic thing going.
little bit, yeah. So this is just one of the bedrooms in stately Thornton Manor, and the beach is right outside my window. There's worse ways to live.
You look like you're at you look like you're at a South Shore Cape Coddish type little resort, nice, cozy, comfort inn type of bedroom, and it's at your cozy home. That's wonderful.
Can I try to sound like the most pretentious, like white suburban homeowner guy? Yeah, that's the aesthetic that we're going for, Pete. I don't know. We the house I grew up in had that faux wood paneling from like the 70s, and that like mildewed, linoleum floor in the
Brady
kitchen,
Bunch
and
green carpet, like Brady Bunch green carpet in the cellar or whatever, and they look like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With with
stains all over, stuff that just like
the difference is we had one bathroom and it had a toilet in it, whereas the Brady's had 6 kids sharing one bathroom, no toilet.
It was
no
offensive.
toilet.
Mike and Carol could be in bed faking making love and kissing while Robert Reed was gay, but you can't have a toilet in the bathroom because that's offensive.
Oh yeah, and then Alice had her own place off the kitchen, so Sam the butcher could come in and bring her some meat. Yes, I heard myself say it. I heard myself.
There's a lot of sausage jokes in there, So there's a post on Facebook once in a while, and somebody put it up the other day. The answers were hysterical. I can't remember. It said, "When did Ann B. Davis / Alice lose her? When do you think she lost her virginity in the Brady?"
Oh dear Lord. I don't know, but I'm going to need about 5 to 7 minutes to myself to think about this. Now I'm so, and you know what? And I look at like Alice, and I'm afraid to look up her age because I guarantee you, like, I've got about 20 years on her.
If you see her early pictures, she was a really pretty lady with unbelievable legs. So I'm talking about from 19, 20, early 20s. You know who else was an incredibly beautiful looking woman?
I wonder if you're going to go with what's in my head, but go ahead.
Mrs. Roper.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes. I wasn't looking. Go look up Audrey, forget her name.
Was it Meadows?
Audrey,
no, she was
Audrey Meadows.
Audrey Meadows was
Audrey Meadows was Honeymooners.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I've been falling down the rabbit hole of the worst garbage TV, including The Love Boat, which is like a time capsule.
It's compelling. I like the first 4 or 5 years. It's because when I was a kid growing up, and it was on Saturday night. When I'm talking about 8, 9, 10, 11, it's Love Boat and then Fantasy Island. And I wish more of these Fantasy Islands were available with Mr. Rourke and with Ricardo Montalban and Herbie Chavez and stuff like that. It was compelling, cheesy sometimes, but compelling.
It was, but I defy anyone to sit through 5 minutes of it today. Like, if it was on TV today, it would only be to serve as like a rite of passage in a tribe.
Yeah.
Like, in order to become an adult, you have to sit through an hour of Love Boat followed by an hour of Fantasy Island without losing your mind. And the one I watched the other day, like Mrs. Roper is on.
Yeah.
And remember Avery Schreiber? Like he's there as like the henpecked husband. And and Doc was always trying to seduce his patients. It was the creepiest thing of all time.
Creepy guy. But I think Gavin McLeod, of course, Mary Tyler Moore was great. And I thought as a Captain Stubing, he was kind of like a Captain Picard in a lot of ways. He was strict. He had a sense of humor about him. It got a little goofy once his daughter got on board and all that stuff. But what was her name? Penny? I can't remember.
Oh yeah. After Julie started getting a little bit too much into the 1970s.
Her and Gopher made out one time. I thought they were going to have sex. It never happened. They broke it off before it got serious. And I remember the episode where the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders came on board. It was like one of the highest rated shows when like 1977 or 78. It was like, that was a huge thing to have the Cowboy cheerleaders on the Love Boat.
Right. And they were excellent on it, but still not their best work. Their best work will always be the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders made for TV movie starring Bucky Dent.
Yes.
New
Oh
York
my God, I
Yankees
remember
star
that. I remember
Bucky Dent.
that.
I mean, and nobody should remember that, but that should have left
But
my
I
brain
do.
a long
It
time
was
ago.
like a
Instead,
Sunday
it's
night at the
burned.
movies type of thing, or whatever, or Friday night where no one was watching anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, this one
Bucky
the other
Dent.
day with Mrs. Roper, like they always had at the beginning, like the passengers coming on, and in a 15-second vignette, you figure out their entire backstory. And
Yeah.
there's one where Barbie Benton, there's a blast on the past.
Oh yeah, she was in a lot of them.
Yeah,
Or a
she
few.
was on, and immediately, like Doc starts doing this thing, like, okay, yeah, I'm
Oh,
gonna.
there she is. What's her name? Oh, there's Audrey. Look at her back in the day.
Holy smokes!
I told you.
Okay, now I'm having like all sorts of issues. Like, okay, this is not unlike the time we found old photos that my parents took, and my mom was in this very classy, very elegant nightgown. But I said, I need therapy right now. Like that's.
Oh, I've never seen my mother on the honeymoon with my dad on Jamaica in 1960 in the bikini.
Yeah, if Freud was.
My dad having cocktails. My dad smoking a pipe.
Oh, they just knew how to live. Holy smoke!
Man, they did.
Okay, I'll never look at the Ropers the same way again. Recently, someone that I stumbled across an early photo of her was, of all people, Aunt B.
Oh,
Frances Bavier
from Andy Griffith show.
Andy Griffith. Frances Bavier was a smoke show back in the day. But I mean, back in the day is, I think Matthew Brady took the photo of her after like one of Lincoln and some in soldiers. You know what I mean? She was not a young woman, but yeah, it's. I keep circling back to like there's certain Instagram follows that I have that look like vintage movies or classic Hollywood or whatever. And I don't know, everybody back before, like, say, the 1950s just had a certain flair, this indefinable quality, this kind of X factor of like class and whatever. I mean, believe me, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to like Sydney Sweeney, but if you look at like I don't know, like Audrey Hepburn or who's the one whose title whose name was
how about Aunt Margaret back in the day, and even I mean, it's just so many. Even Betty Davis had her moments, even though I think she kind of turned it. But Betty Davis, which was very young, incredibly sexy.
Oh yeah, Shirley MacLaine to me was always the.
Her and Joan Crawford could have the most awesome cat fight if they ever really wanted to go at it in their prime. It would have been fantastic.
Sure. Well,
it's not whatever happened to Baby Jane. It's still, to me, one of the creepiest movies ever made, and I still think it holds up today. I'm surprised no one has ever done a remake of that. Whatever happened to Baby Jane? That is one of the creepiest movies ever made.
That won like Oscars too, I think,
yeah.
right? Which is dark. Like they should. Lady A pushes Lady B down a staircase in a wheelchair.
You find out how she really got paralyzed, and all that stuff. And then the scene where Betty Davis brings her up, Joan Crawford, the meal, and pulls the clothes off, and it's a fucking rat. Yeah, with lettuce and everything else. It just like I remember. Oh God, it just freaked me out.
Sure. I mean, not famous for their looks, as opposed to say Rita Hayworth, whose name was in the original short story, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, but it was too confusing, so they pulled her out. But that part, like as Morgan Freeman says, I like when she does that thing with her hair, and she like flips the hair, and you're like, oh, whoa. So to me, growing up, Shirley MacLaine was always the crazy lady who went on like talk shows and talked about how she was like Cleopatra.
She was really pretty. She was really pretty younger too. Really, really pretty.
Okay, so I stumbled across this Billy Wilder movie, Jack Lemmon, The Apartment.
Oh,
she's like his love interest.
Another Oscar winner. I read Jack win an Oscar for that back in the day. Somebody did in that movie.
He should have. The basic premise is he's just this low-level drone in this huge company where, everyone just sits in rows of desks or whatever. But he has an apartment at work, and all the executives use it to bring their side pieces so their wives don't catch them. And because of that, he moves up the company ladder. And Shirley MacLaine runs the elevator. And she's so over the top, cute and adorable, like you just melt your face off the TV screen. And so you never know about these women. I say this to, again, all due respect to Sydney Sweeney, who's given a lot of happiness to a lot of men, save your money. Because you're probably not going to be known for your looks when you're 35. Say right now, there's some decupped blonde who's about to come of age who's going to take all your roles. So save it. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, so last night the new Master Chef series is out on Fox, and I watched it the next day on Hulu without the commercials and all that stuff. So this particular season is all about couples. For the first time, it's going to be couples, whether they're or people that work together, a couple guys in the fire department, this, that, and the other thing. Who do they bring on? Who won last night in the preliminaries and the qualifying? Here comes it was Mary Kate, I forget, and the other girl. And I'm like, I'm watching. They said their names.
Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen?
Not Mary Kate and Ashley. No, no. These, and I knew the two girls. I was like, wait a second. I know those two. They were on MasterChef Junior season 3 when they were like 9 and 8 years old. And now here they are, 18 years later. And wow. It's like, oh no God, kidding. You felt dirty watching. It's like, oh my God. They have blossomed into these beautiful young women. But I mean, it was just, and then they won. They beat out these other two, and they won to get on to the main show. But to see those two girls that I saw, they were so adorable on MasterChef Junior, ages 9 and 8 or ages 10 and 9, and one from Texas and one from New York, and they kept in touch with each other even after the show. Became very close friends. They started cooking together. And there they were, but it's just like, I know them. I know those names.
Pete, I know exactly the dynamic you're talking about. And it's really difficult to be a gentleman of our age and to navigate those waters. Like, for instance, I think the prime example always will be Hermione Granger. Like, watching her as a precocious 11-year-old, perfectly cast for that role, and then she grows up, and then there's like this kind of the middle of the Harry Potter series where she's dressed for the Triwizards Ball and she looks lovely, and you're just going, okay, you know what? I'm not prepared for this. And now she's straight up like a sex symbol. But again, it wasn't that long ago.
It's like the Olsen twins, and then the other sister, who I think is the best actress of all. I mean, it was also beautiful, Scarlet Witch there from The Avengers. I mean, I remember her as a little kid also.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Olsen. Yeah, I think she's the best actress of all of them.
And also like top 10 most attractive women in Hollywood, certainly in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another example is a more recent example is and she's already married now at the age of, I want to say 19 or 20. But the girl who played 11 on Stranger Things.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. She was in something recently. I was like, wow. When her hair's not short and she's dolled up, and I don't mean in a slutty way. I mean in a lady type way.
Well, listen, she's an adult. She's old enough to command a platoon in battle. Technically speaking. But it's just kind of hard because like I've got friends whose like sons, that was like their number one celebrity crush, and now she's a grown woman and she's like doing Instagram modeling or whatever. So it's hard. Another real life example of this is that time of year where I have friends whose daughters are going to prom, and every parent proudly posts the photos, and you have to be very conscious of, okay, how do I compliment and say, proud dad moment, good for you. She looks, the dress is great, whatever, without it being you're the guy with the members only jacket, with a mustache, walking into a kitchen and Chris Hansen say, have a seat. Like, that's not what I'm going for. I'm just saying,
Angel,
you should be proud. She looks lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. And all these girls, they're so beautiful, all of them. Who's that?
Okay, Pete. Look, Pete and Angel, if we were doing an all-time draft of most attractive women at their peak, Raquel Welch might come off the board number one.
It's so many choices. I think that's a solid number one. And I was going to before real quick. I remember in The Horse Whisperer. Do you remember what female star was in that? Scarlett Johansson. And I remember watching that I didn't, Robert Redford and everything else. And I was like, oh, she's gonna be something else. It's just a matter of time. And
the late great Gilbert Gottfried. I used to listen to his podcast religiously. I never didn't laugh till I cried every time I listened to him. His ideal was Scarlett Johansson, but he didn't like regular movie nudity. He didn't like sexual nudity. His idea would have been like her just doing something ordinary, like naked, but having like a bowl of cereal and reading the newspaper.
Well, it's interesting you say that. When Blue Lagoon came out in 79 or 80, and Endless Love was the big song with Lionel Richie and Diana Ross. It was #1 forever and ever. But that, like, Brooke Shields never did it for me. Never. And then you found out in Blue Lagoon and Endless Love that the mom wouldn't let her be naked, so it was different people, and Blue Lagoon especially, which was one of the dumbest movies of all time. The only one people went to see it initially is because they thought Brooke was going to be naked. And Tommy Ames from 8 Is Enough is sitting there, I remember him pulling his putt on the rocks, and she catches him and all that stuff. And the only funny part about that movie is when they were singing Christmas carols and they forgot the words because they were stranded on that island. I still don't get the end, if they died or didn't, when they eat the little berries and they're on the canoe boat and whatever. I still don't. You talk about a Sopranos type. I've always been mad at the ending. Did they live? Did they die?
Right. The ambiguous endings, like No Country for Old Men.
Those were pretty big sex scenes at the time. There was a lot of nudity in that movie, and none of it was Brooke. Their mom wouldn't let her do it.
There was an actual Blue Lagoon kind of knockoff, like a low budget one.
It was Blue Lagoon too.
Huge. It was huge on cable. No, this one starred oh my God, from American Pie. From Ridgemont High. Phoebe Cates, who is an all-timer. This one, it's her and some other like sitcom actor, and it's called Paradise, and it's just Blue Lagoon, except she's naked like 90% of the time. And by the way, more power to her. And she's really held up well. She's my age, just about. And I think almost exactly. And she married Kevin Kline, and she dropped out of Hollywood, and she went and had babies, and she crops up every once in a while, and you go, boy, she missed out. She could have been in the public eye for forever. They're like, some don't age well. Some do, and she. Brooke Shields has aged well too. More power to her. She was a child. Famous child model. Always seemed creepy to me. Always felt exploitive with her, and she grew up, and she's
her parents were nuts. Her mom was a psycho.
And somehow she's navigated those tricky waters and never once ended up like. With holding up a placard and a mugshot, like most child stars do.
Then another underrated would be, and like Phoebe, this woman had a couple of hit movies and then retired to Australia with her husband, Brian Brown. Rachel Ward. She was smoking early on. And she could have been, she was unbelievable and Against All Odds and a couple of other movies that she was in. She was married to Brian Brown. I think they still are. But she got out of acting completely because she wanted to have a family and do all that stuff. But talk about draft picks. I think still, to me, in their prime, Jennifer Aniston's got to be up there. I love Jennifer.
And her prime has been a long, long time. She's had like Jennifer Aniston's had like a Roger Clemens like career. Like she hit the ground, she immediately was a sensation. Right. And late in her career, she's still keeping it up. I mean, just watch We're the Millers.
Oh.
I mean, you just go, this is 25 years after she debuted on Friends, and look at her still.
I know. And I still remember her. The first time I saw her was in, of course, the classic movie horror Leprechaun.
Oh yeah. I'd forgotten her tour de force performance. That was really a star-making turn, as the critics like to say.
Yeah, never got into that franchise. Last thing before we kind of move on to sports here. So I'm stumbling a couple things, TV stuff, and I don't care because I love talking with Jerry Thornton about stuff that most people think about but are afraid to bring it up, and we always bring it up. Yep. I'm thinking for the last like 10, I'm like, I want to see Hot Dog the movie, the ski movie. I don't know if you remember it or not.
Oh, listen,
and I'm like, couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't available to buy. Lo and behold, about last week, it's on. Go to Amazon. I just punched it in. It's like, oh, it's part of Amazon. I start watching. The star of the show is David Naughton. Now, David Naughton, you might be remember from American Werewolf in London. You also remember he sang the song "Making It" from me, "Making It." That was actually nominated for an Academy Award back in the day with Meatball with Bill Murray and that stuff. He's not in that movie, but he sings that song, "Making It," and he is the star of this ski movie along with this guy, Harkin Banks. It's not his real, that's his character name. And Shannon Tweed is in it. Now, there's a chunk of the movie early on that's all boobs and frontal nudity for women, which I really, because I've seen it so many times, it doesn't do anything for me, but hysterical, funny stuff. The most unbelievable ski movie you'd ever want to see with the action and stuff. Hysterical, childish, sophomoric, dialogue and all that stuff. But nevertheless, there's something compelling about it. It's like watching the ski version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's the best way I can describe it.
Exactly. There was a whole genre of them, right? It's always like an entourage of guys and girls. They're all wearing day glow. The hair was preposterously big. Jump cut to like the obligatory, skiing scenes or whatever, and then the wipeout, and then they're back in the hot tub or whatever. And it really speaks to the lack of just dumb comedies. Like what is so wrong with just a dumb comedy? Like
nothing.
You'd never be able to do a Porky's today, or let's even elevate it a little bit, like a little bit of a smarter comedy, something like Revenge of the Nerds. Like Hollywood is utterly incapable of pulling something like that off at all. Is it too much to ask that I ask for just a little bit of gratuitous nudity? I'm noticing now every show, every movie I watch has to have an uncalled for, no one wanted this butt shot of the main hero, but never of the woman. Like my wife loves Reacher. I don't know why, just because the guy's like carved out of a solid block of testosterone and like saves the day every 5 times an episode, right? I have to look at his butt, but never like the love interest. Shogun, another great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Handsome actor, beautiful. No, the recent
TV show. Yeah, the recent
the recent series. It's so handsome actor, gorgeous co-star. I get to see his butt, never hers. Like, just throw guys a bone. I get it. Harvey Weinstein, the pendulum had to swing. It swung far enough. Let's bring it back to the middle. Thank you.
Especially when it's just made for TV, right? That was made for Hulu, right? It wasn't even on regular TV, was it? Yeah. So, I mean, you got carte blanche and do what you want. And then before we get to somewhat sports here in the last few minutes here, but last night I'm sitting there with Peanut Gallery, and I'm like, let's watch some. I didn't know. We were like, watch the cooking shows that we watch when I'm not watching sports. I got the hockey game on and the basketball game going back and forth on my digital devices. And then I'm like, all right, let's put on 24. So I put on 24 season 7. Next thing I know, it's 4 hours later, and I hadn't seen season 7 in a long time. And I'm like, this still worked. This is just, and it's so far ahead of its time in so many ways, except for the phones and all that stuff, which they have. But and you sit there and go, wow. And you look at some of the plot and the story. And it can relate to what is going on nowadays and so many. And I'm like, but the bottom line is when you watch it on Hulu, because it's not commercials, at least I pay for no commercials, so it's only 41 minutes. And all of a sudden, we're 4 episodes in. I'm like, we're gonna go to bed. I would have stayed up all night watching all 24. But that show still holds up. I think it's one of the best shows ever on TV.
Yeah, the cliche is to say, you fell down the rabbit hole. But if you do it in 24, that's not a rabbit hole. It's an anthill. Like there's so many, you go down, there's a tunnel, there's another way that connects. This is a dead end. But that show is utterly fascinating. Back in the day of Barstool, when that was the biggest show on TV, we had an anonymous reader who used to just do these 2,000-word recaps of every 24 episodes.
Really?
Never knew who he was. We just posted his stuff anonymously. He had a huge crush on Chloe.
How could you not?
He tracked the things that Jack Bauer kept in that bag that he was always carrying. Like, all of a sudden, he had like C4. He had like backup guns. He had like something that could see through a brick wall and whatever. Just never failed. And if you actually looked at the totality of every season, it was so preposterous to defy logic. Like, I think season 1 his daughter, Alicia Cuthbert,
Oh, yes.
she burned brightly for a short period of time
she
too.
did. Yes, she did.
Got amnesia twice in the same season. So that's
and then
the
she went
same
for
24-hour day.
And then she went to work for CTU. At one point.
Oh my gosh!
You remember that?
I mean, yeah.
Like season 3, she went to work for CTU, and then they cut off her boyfriend's arm. Remember, because a bomb was going to go off, and they had to cut off his wrist all the way down. Right? I remember correctly, to get him out.
He was.
Jack goes, bite this because this is going to hurt. Boom.
Yeah, Jack once decapitated an innocent man because he was working for like a drug lord or something, just to prove, like, see, I'm legit, like I'm really working for you.
And then he had to become a heroin addict, to fit in one of the, season. So I just said, let's watch season 7, because
Are you sure that wasn't an ABC after school special? Become a heroin addict just to fit in. Hey man, if you're not doing heroin, you're not cool. Hey, you know what the real drug is? Friendship.
The 2 after-school specials I remember. We may never get to sports. I don't care. The 2 after-school specials I remember. Everybody remembers The Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
with John Travolta. And then we find out many years later that he was dating the mom on the show at the time. In fact, did they get married? He was in love with her. I know they were together, a couple, for a long time. You talk about Belichick, Jordan Hudson. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it was for the time. And you found out that she was dating, and then she died of breast cancer, I think, unfortunately. So I remember that, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, and My Mom's Having a Baby, which is the first time I ever saw a vagina. That later on, maybe in Playboy or something like that. But they actually showed a woman having a baby at 4:00 in the afternoon on ABC. And I remember a friend of my mom's happened to be at the house and walked through, and she's like, your mother let you watch it? I think I was 9 years old at the time. And they showed My Mom's Having a Baby. They showed an actual birth. And
as someone who's been in the delivery room twice, I can promise you that should never be your introduction to the lady parts of any woman's bathing suit areas. Yeah. It just shouldn't be. There's another one too that I urge you to find at least some of the clips from it. It was Tom Hanks' first acting job, and it was based on Dungeons and Dragons. And remember all the
before Bosom Buddies? Before Bosom Buddies?
Yeah. And during a time when everyone was like, over the top afraid of like role-playing games with kids and how that's going to destroy their minds. This one was called Mazes and Monsters. And Tom Hanks plays it to the point where now he thinks he really has magic powers. In the final scene, he's on the top of the World Trade Center and he's ready to jump off because he thinks he can fly. And his friends are trying to plead with him. You really can't. Like, sure I can. No,
I remember the show. I don't remember that scene, but it sounds like something like that he would be interested. I used to play. Yeah. We played Dungeons and Dragons. If it was really rainy and shitty outside, I was never the dungeon master with the storytelling. I could have done it, but I felt more compelled But we would play for days sometimes.
Yeah. My version of that was Stratomatic baseball.
Well, me too. But we did that too. Stratomatic baseball and Stratomatic basketball we would play. We'd have 4 of us and we'd have an NBA draft. And I remember, in the 80s, this is where we were playing. And I'd always try to get Bird and Magic on the same team. And it was so much fun doing that. Hours of, I had Stratomatic baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. I had Stratomatic hockey.
Good
Lord. I had all of it. But Stratomatic baseball was my favorite.
Same. We played 162 game seasons, and then we had a different version of it that had all-time players. So you'd have like Ty Cobb facing Sandy Koufax or whatever. And Pete, this whole conversation could be summed up with a question, which is, how on earth did we find women to love us?
I agree.
Wouldn't you and I be like middle-aged virgins at this point?
I agree.
This entire conversation.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, no, anyone would look at this. Okay, so you're watching Brooke Shields movies and you're comparing like Raquel Welch to, Lauren Bacall. And you're playing Stratomatic games. You watched after-school specials. And yet somehow, through God's grace, we each found a woman willing to marry us. It's insane.
It absolutely is. And then after the Stratomatic thing was big, and then my buddy John, who lived up the street from me, his dad, God rest his soul, and a former representative in Rhode Island, was like one of the first families to get the Apple II computer, not the real, and because he needed it for his job. And then he made the ultimate boo-boo and got his son, John, that did floppy disks, and it had about 50 of the greatest World Series teams of all time. And all your job was to do. So if I wanted to play the 78 Red Sox against the 75 Red Sox, I could do it. If I wanted to play the 27 Yankees against the 65 Dodgers, I could do it. If I wanted, it went up to, at the time, to about 1984 or 5. So you could play like every single World Series team, and we would put divisions, just like we break them down into divisions. It was at the time, it was only 2 in the East, 2 in the American League, and 2 in the National League, East, West. So it was 4 divisions. And we would put the same amount of teams, and we drew them out of a hat to see who would play in what division. And then had an absolute unbelievable tournament. We play 162. It took a year to do it. And just phenomenal stuff. And I think and if I'm not mistaken, in the very end, because we only did it for 1 year and then we just moved on, I think it ended up being in the final after the regular season of 162, this, that, and all you did was manage. All you did was manage, and the computer took care of the rest, and you had to warm up people at the right time, put the starters into the right time, set the starting lineup, yada, yada. There could be injuries from time to time as well that you had to adjust with. When it was all said and done, I believe it was a 78 Red Sox overall against like the A's of like the 72 A's. One of their World Series teams that they had with Vita Blue and all that stuff back then. And it was just like, we would just entertain ourselves. Now, most of the time we're outside playing and all this. Right. You know what I'm saying? We got it done over a year on rainy days or whatever. And it was like always something to do. We would sit there for hours and just act like, it was, no, that's how we entertain ourselves. There was no big time graphics or anything else.
Right.
It was like dots and but you just managed, and it was a lot of fun. But those days are a long. We found ways to entertain ourselves. We didn't need all video games and everything.
And it's now official. I just got a notice that Health and Human Services has declared this conversation the leading cause of feminine dryness. Yeah.
All right.
So many women now are just going, you know what? I think I'm just going to stay celibate. Yeah. Is this really what guys are like? Am I going to marry a guy and find out that he wants to play baseball games on the computer? Oh, this is. And on a side note, really, and I'll be quick about this. Some friends and I have just been texting about MLB declared that they're building a replica of the Polo Grounds, the old New York Giants ballpark, on its original site to play like games every so often, a couple times a year, like the Winter Classic in hockey. Like, why? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what is it about baseball that demands that it link itself to this nostalgia? Can you ever imagine, in your wildest dreams, imagine the NBA saying, we're going to build a replica of the Boston Garden.
It doesn't
so
work
we
in
can
any other
bring
sport.
back the atmosphere of Bill Russell's Celtics. Like, what are we doing?
It doesn't work in any other sport but baseball. Oh, real quick. And then we got a couple of sports questions, thoughts from you I want. But I wish you were down here this weekend. Oh, yeah. My wife just texted me. She's like, and when I talk about Hot Dog the movie and Shannon Tweed, who was once married to Gene Simmons and whatever. Yeah. So my niece Shannon is named after her.
Okay.
Yeah. And my sister-in-law, who probably would never watch any of those movies but knew who she was and just saw a picture of her one time, thought she was beautiful, so she named her.
There'd be worse inspirations for the name Shannon, like that 70s song about the dog that died.
Oh,
Shannon
Shep?
is gone
Yeah. I brought that up to somebody the other day. Shannon is about an Irish setter who was like chased playing ball in the ocean and never came back. He drowned by accident.
Of course, you brought it up to someone the other
Who
day.
sang that song? Michael, not Michael Gross. Somebody Gross, Gross. That song used to bring tears to my eyes as a little kid. Everybody thinks it's about a woman, but it's about his Irish setter playing on the beach, goes into the water too deep and dies. Never comes
He
back.
has a tree to play with, just like the one in our backyard. Like, who thought that was about a woman? Like, that's insane. And there were plenty of death songs in that same era. This was just unique in that it was one about a dog. Like, there were so many dead girlfriends and dead wives and Billy Don't Be a Hero or whatever, but that stood alone as the one song about a dead pooch.
I got a Angel, do you still have that picture? Don't tell Jerry what it is about that event on Fort Myers Beach that I'm going to go to tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. Do you still have it? You are going to shit, Jerry. I wish you would just fly down here for this because it is right up your alley. Keep it on hold for a second, Angel, till I punch it up here. It's going to take place at Sandy Bottom's Bar and Grill. And by the way, the ocean down here right now is phenomenal. It's back to clear blue. It's absolutely amazing. And we are only 1 day away from this major event on Fort Myers Beach on Sandy at Sandy Bottom's Bar and Grill. And you're going to only here could you get this. And I can't wait to find out how they came up with this. But it is, let me know when you have it, Angel. If not, I can send it to you. So I'll tell you what, wait till you see this. Okay. This is a true event coming up tomorrow. Jabu Fest. This place is Jabu Fest. And look at this. Rum levels are unstable. The conch is humming, and Jabu just winked at a thundercloud. It's getting real, folks. It's just a day away. We ignite the ritual, tempt fate with cigars and confetti, and summon good vibes and protection for this wild little island. Got your bundle. Practice your offering stance. Prepare to dance like Jabu is watching. You got 24 hours to get your soul and your shot glass ready. There it is, a toast to calm the seas featuring Jabu, and there's rum sacrifices every hour and a whole bunch of stuff. I will have some pictures and video for you. You got to put it on. You got to put it in your column. I mean, this is something that you need to fly down here for tomorrow.
Yes,
realize how much fun we would have at this thing.
I can't pull it off logistically, but I'm going to beg you to take copious notes.
I will,
because the beach at Plymouth. You know, we've got events down here. There's always St. Patrick's Day on the beach. There's Family Fun Day, whatever. There's the cornhole tournaments.
But you don't have Jabu Fest.
We don't, but that can be corrected. I just need to know how to pull it off. Oh, that's, I'm glad Jabu's getting the recognition that he deserves.
Yeah. It's very bad to take Jabu's rum.
Yeah. We just lost the gator from Happy Gilmore. You know what I mean? So we've got to enjoy these icons of, classic cinema while we still have the chance. While Jabu can be with us forever, let's celebrate him as long as we can.
5 to 8 tomorrow on Fort Myers Beach at Sandy Bottom's Bar and Grill. It is a freaking fun place. Believe me,
I would be God's own drunk that day. Oh, please!
I can't wait to see who comes up with the Jabu stat. I mean, I have no idea how they're going to do this. I think it's only the second annual, but man, it is. I'm giving it full plugs because I can't wait. I think that is absolutely hysterical. Right up my alley, right up your alley. It's something that every beach in America should do.
Yeah,
a tribute to Jabu.
Pour one out for your boy, Jerry. I wish I could be there, but I'm going to be with you in spirit.
All right, lastly, let's real quick. Thoughts on Stephon Gilmore, pink substances, and yachts in Miami.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs, common mistake. Yeah, I keep referring to him as Stephon Gilmore, too, who wasn't on a boat handing out a mysterious baggie of something. Not a good look, to say the very least. And, when Mike Vrabel took the job, without overtly saying it, he sort of implied like we're going to change the culture and this is what I'm looking for in people. And he kept talking about accountability. we can look at his whole career from the time he hit New England, became a team captain, to being a coach, and we can extrapolate. He expects a certain amount of discipline and responsibility to your teammates. He also said it's easy when everything's going well.
Of
the
course.
true mark of a team is when things don't go well.
We say that all the time, don't we?
How do you handle it? Well, okay, it's you hit the day after Memorial Day weekend, and already things aren't going well. So now here's your test. Who knows what Diggs was handing out? We can all jump to conclusions. Maybe it was one of those like individually wrapped pickles that they have on the counter at the gas station.
Maybe
You know what I mean?
chiclets, like Angel brought up, or it's crushed chiclets. But when you hear him kind of say, and it's tough to hear the dialogue over the music, but he says, I think he believes, and I could be misquoting him. I hope I'm not. Don't do it all. Don't do it all.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. See, my sister spends a lot of time in Hawaii. She used to live there. She brought me a bag that looked very similar. It's filled with like a Hawaiian spice blend. Maybe that was
Pink salt?
It
It was pink salt.
There's some Himalayan pink salt in there, to be sure. Yeah, I don't know, but where I'm optimistic on this is that there was no indication he was doing anything. Mike Vrabel is a very strong presence, and also, and I wrote about this on Barstool on Thursday, Cardi B, a source close to her, has told the Daily Mail that she doesn't want him, acting like a scumbag. Didn't say he was acting like a scumbag. She doesn't want him to. So I think
That's his girlfriend, right?
Life, yes, exactly. And she was on the boat. And listen, I have been guilty in the past of having a couple too many to drink. I'm somewhere with the Irish Rose, who I'm completely devoted to. You start chatting somebody up, and there's a certain level of drunkenness that I hit that I call witty and charming.
Yes, I'm with you.
We're all of a sudden I'm sophisticated. I'm like, I look like Sean Connery in a tuxedo, but I talk like Oscar Wilde in my head. And, you start chatting, and then women have this internal kind of like a shot clock in their head that they don't share with you, but where they would just, you're over your time, and the buzzer goes off and it's a turnover and you lose possession of the balls. So she, I think, feels like, okay, that I don't want my man doing that, spending all that time around those women. The point I'm getting at is, I think between Vrabel and Cardi B, that, the boundaries have been set. And also, this is probably going to trigger the NFL's Pee Patrol. Like anytime, they will investigate, they will suddenly randomly test the pee of a punter who rips off a couple of 70-yarders. So my point being that Diggs having some sort of mysterious substance in his hand, that's like a 3-pronged attack right there between his coach, his girlfriend, and the league. So hopefully he just straightens up and flies right. Again, how did he come to the Patriots? His receiver coach last year in Houston was Josh McDaniels' brother.
Yeah.
So you would think he comes highly recommended. If he said, hey, this guy has more red flags than the country club of Beijing. Okay, sure. The Patriots don't sign him, but clearly says this guy's a gamer. He works hard. He was a total citizen when he was
They
here.
discriminate at the country club of Beijing. They don't let people like us in. They don't.
No, absolutely not. But there's 18 flags plus whatever the CCP makes them put up on the clubhouse. Unfortunate incident. I like the idea that it's over. We get through it. It'll long be forgotten. He shows, and I keep switching to the workout videos that he's doing, and you would never know that this guy tore his ACL in October. So, knock wood. This is we've had enough nonsense with this team the last few years. Honestly, between a cornerback who was really promising, carrying a loaded gun through Logan Airport, and and the 2 rookie receivers who were absolutely useless last year. And my understanding is that Jalen Polk looks, like they threw a lot at him. And that people close to the team say, he's catching on and they can work with him. Javon Baker, maybe not so much, but we'll see. We need Diggs. We need Polk to emerge. And I heard you talking to Bill Burt about the receiver they drafted in the third round, Kyle Williams.
Yeah.
And he looks like outstanding right now while they're practicing without pads. We'll see, but we've got nothing but the Red Sox between us and the start of training camp. So we're going to need all the Patriots' hope we can get.
I don't want to end on a bad note with the Red Sox. What do you got coming up? Any comedy shows coming up? What do you want to plug?
I'm on Barstool Sports every day. I'm going to be involved on Tuesday, Monday, June 9th, with the Joe Andruzzi golf tournament. I'm going to be doing some MC work for that, and it's a fantastic cause.
Joe's one of my favorite people ever. Love him.
Yeah. And I'm thrilled. And then after that, I'm going to be heading down to D.C. Going to get some connections down there that will welcome me to some Congress people, tour of the White House possibly. So I'll report back on that as the plans materialize. But I'm going down for a couple of days. And
ask Joe if he remembers me in our Aruba encounter after the Super Bowl. I always took the week off afterwards, right? So we go to Aruba. We're at the Divvy. Me and 8 other of my friends ready to check in, and I'm in front of I'm checking in. All of a sudden, I get a tap, not on the shoulder or back. I get this guy pounds me on the head, not playfully. I turn around, it's Joe, and he's like. And I go, what are you stalking me? I said, weren't you just? This is after they won the Super Bowl in Houston. I go, what are you stalking me? So he was. We had a nice conversation where we were checking and we were laughing. I was like, I cannot. I go, I've been coming here a lot longer than you've been playing in the NFL, so I don't want to hear. But he was down with him, one other Patriot player who I can't remember, a guy from the Packers and a guy from the Browns. It was absolutely hysterical, and they invited me and my friends to go sit with them, and I wouldn't do it. I was like, they had their own little private tent. I go, no, blah blah blah. And you know how many New England people are in Aruba. So I remember that night they got up and walked through one of the outside restaurants. I got a big standing ovation from so many New England fans because it's always New England South in Aruba, or Northeast South, I should say. But ask him if he playfully, he may not remember. This was 2004. Remember when he tapped me on the head and asked if I was stalking him, even though I was ahead of him in line back in at the Divvy.
Yeah, wait. Absolutely. It's the first time I'm involved in this very worthy cause. Any name I can drop, Joe Andruzzi and I have a great mutual friend that I'm all about trying to ingratiate myself to this. So thanks very much, Pete. I appreciate you having me on again.
No worries. Angela, you have something?
Yeah. But since we've been doing a throwback to the actresses of back in the day, we have to have a Friday segment. Sheppard and Thornton go to the movies. We got to end it with this. So we've been doing a lot of throwback stuff.
Not the whole. I don't want to do the whole scene. It's too long.
No, yeah, we'll do like the first minute.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Carter, I know this is completely unorthodox, but I think this is the only way to find that boy. Now, that penis had a mole on it. I'd recognize that penis anywhere. In spite of the juvenile snickers of some, this is a serious matter. That seducer and spoiler must be stopped. He's extremely dangerous. And, Mr. Carter, I'm certain that everyone in this room knows who that is. He's a contemptible little pervert who's...
Ballbreaker.
Well, I'm sorry. But I've got him now, and I'm not going to let him slip through my fingers again. Now, all I'm asking is that you give me 5 boys for a few minutes. The coaches can be present, Tommy Turner, and any 4 boys you see fit to choose. And we can put a stop to this menace. And it is a menace. Well, what are you going to do about it?
5 young boys in the nude, a police lineup, so that you can identify his tallywhacker. Please, can we call it a tallywhacker? Penis is so personal. The penis is so personal.
We can put hoods over their heads to avoid embarrassment. Now listen, we have got to do it as distasteful as it is. I know it's him. That tallywhacker had a mole on it. And that mole is the key to it.
Miss Balbrick, do you realize the difficulty of your request? Now, I would be very happy to apprehend the young man myself. But can you imagine what the Board of Education would say if you were granted a lineup in order to examine their private their private parts for an incriminating mole?
But, Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter, I think I have a way out of this. We call the police, and we have them send over one of their sketch artists. And Miss Ballbreaker can give a description. We can put up wanted posters all over school. Have you seen this prick? Report immediately to Beulah Ballbreaker. Do not attempt to apprehend this prick, as it is armed and dangerous. It was last seen hanging out in the girl locker room at Angel Beach High
I was 13 years old when Porky's came out. Oh my God, I peed my pants. It was at the time, it still holds up. That is just absolutely brilliant.
It just makes you pity the generation now that's growing up without that. Like, there's no comedy similar to it. There's no one. You watch that and you just feel seen as a teenage boy, as you were in high school. The stuff that you find funny, they got it. And then because they got to throw in the principal with the bow tie and weirdly has a mid-Atlantic accent, like he's in a 1930s radio serial or something. Yes, tallywhacker. Like,
and even though that
principal talk like that in 1980.
Takes place, if people know, it takes place in Key West. That's where that's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, famous for people with that put upon accent.
Yeah.
Those are the days. Proud that I was able to live through them, between the music and the comedy and the science fiction. It was a time that if you didn't live through it, you'll never understand. If you did live through it, no explanation is necessary.
Jerry, you're the best. I will look forward to reading your stuff in Barstool Sports. I will report back to you this weekend at Jabu Fest with pictures and videos, and if you can incorporate it, because I don't think there's a Jabu Fest anywhere in the country. I don't even think Cleveland has it, where Major League took place. So look, this to me is an original, and it'll be a lot of fun. So I'll send you some pictures and video.
Southwest Florida continues to be on the cutting edge of American culture, and I appreciate the work you guys are doing. Thanks very much, Pete. Angel, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, fellas.
Thanks a lot. There he is, Jerry Thornton. There he goes from the great Barstool Sports. All right, Angel, that's gonna do it. What's going up on the network? Anything today? I know we got some announcements next week coming up, which is good.
Yep. No, we got announcements coming up next week. Nothing really much going on today, other than a couple of things being reworked on the website. So you guys stay tuned over the weekend. I'll have a different look to the website and adding some more music to the music lineup on the radio side. So that's pretty much what's happening over the weekend.
My friend, thanks a lot. Thanks to my guest today, Bill Burt, and as you just heard, Jerry Thornton. Have a great and safe rest of your weekend, everybody, no matter where you are around the country and around the world. Be kind to each other. Don't speed. Don't do wheelies on e-bikes and get in the way of me. I will run you over, especially on Fort Myers Beach, where I'm headed tomorrow. And I will report a full report on Jabu Fest on Fort Myers Beach I can't wait. Stand by for pictures and video tomorrow. 5 to 8 on Fort Myers Beach. You want to be there. Angel, great stuff. We'll talk Monday at 7 a.m. Bye-bye.